Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the Listenercast.
It is us.
We're back.
My name is Ryan.
And I'm Whitney. Do we ever say our names in the beginning?
No, we probably should.
I don't think we do.
I don't know. We're changing it up. Hello, fellow listeners.
Hello. That was like, you said that, and I was like, I don't think we've ever said our names before.
We did, like, in the first episode.
Well, whoopsies.
It's okay. It's fine.
It's fine. We're back.
Yes.
Took a week off, went and saw my mom. And now we are going to do... Sorry, I'm a mess over here today. What are we on? Part 3 of Words of Radiance?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. As always, we'll do a little extra yapping at the end, but we don't want to disrupt your podcasting. So we're just going to get right into it.
Yes. Interlude 5. It is 7 days before the Parshendi meet with the Alethi. A high storm approaches and Eshonai goes into it with her captured Spren. The Storm Father comes to her and says that he is sorry.
He's sorry.
He is sorry.
Okay. Let's see. I marked here on the second page. Yeah, so I marked here specifically the sentence that says this one, the soul of the storm, was the one of the humans called Stormfather, and he was not one of her people's gods. In fact, the songs named him a traitor, a spren who had chosen to protect humans instead of the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Listener mention. Anyways.
Yeah. Oh, that's us.
But yeah, I just think it's interesting because this is like where we kind of get our first look at Parshendi lore as far as like they have different gods than humans do.
And that this one in particular is like a traitor to them and everything. Yeah. So he was with them at one point. It's inferred.
One can assume.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I also, do you have anything in this interlude that you've marked before I just keep going?
You kind of are probably going to touch on everything I had to say, so you keep going.
The other thing I had marked was the spren that we see once she kind of like is in the transformation. Mm-hmm. And it says the spren escaped from its prison and spun around her, giving off a strange red light. Splinters of lightning sprang from it. Anger spren? This was wrong. So... And then Eshonai ends up being like, no, like she's like panicking.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. We don't know what is wrong,
right?
But it's not what she was expecting.
No, not at all.
Assumingly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I find it interesting that the Storm Father or the Rider of the Storms says at the end, like, I would shelter you, little one, if I were given that power. I am sorry. Like the whole, like, okay, so this is, from what we can tell, like a very, very powerful spren.
Yeah.
Who cannot stop what's going to happen, which I think kind of makes it eerie, you know? They're like, no, I can't even stop this. What's about to happen to you?
Or like presumably a god.
Yeah, presumably. Yeah. So, I don't know. Pretty wacky. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Interlude 6, Zahel. Zahel is rudely interrupted by Kaladin in the middle of the night, asking him to train him.
My goat.
Yeah, my goat. This chapter is 2 pages.
2 pages, literally. I marked something.
Go ahead.
At the end of this chapter here.
Yeah.
Which I know it's 2 pages, but I think it's something interesting. And if you have read, this is like a Greater Cosmere thing. And if you've read another book, it's kind of, it's a cool connect.
Yeah.
So it says, the kid grunted, being Kaladin, sliding the door shut. Zal pulled his blanket, damn monks only got one, and turned over on his cot. He expected a voice to speak in his mind as he drifted off. Of course, there wasn't one. Hadn't been one in years.
Yes.
So that's just a little Greater Cosmere thing that if you have the connect, you have it. And if not, You need to read more Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah. Also, at the very beginning, someone was near. Zahel awoke, snapping his eyes open, knowing instantly that someone was approaching his room.
Yeah.
Like, Zahel's just that cracked, huh?
He's just that good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We won't get into it. Let's get into I-7. How about that?
Yeah. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah. Dalinar and Elhokar come to meet Taln. They are told by the man, Borden, how he came to be and try to ascertain how he came into the possession of a shard blade. Taln thinks that maybe this time he is too late.
Yeah, so we actually met Taln originally. Well, not met him, but we knew of him in the prelude to the entire series.
Yes.
Because he was the one that didn't return, or what's the right terminology for this?
Yeah, he did not return.
Yeah. So
and then he did at the end in the epilogue of The Way of Kings.
Yes. So yeah. Here he is.
Yep.
Presumably. Because it could just be a crazy person that he's calling himself Taln.
But it's not. It's actually him.
It is actually him.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only thing I marked here was when it's Elhokar talking to him, and he says, "Where did you get your shard blade, madman? Tell me. Most blades are accounted for through the generations, their lineage and history recorded. This one is completely unknown. From whom did you take it?" So it's just like, I thought it's an interesting little lore building thing of like, we know that they've recorded every shard blade and like who has it. Like, I'm assuming even, well, I guess not the way that they acted. It seemed like they didn't know the Parshendi had one, but
yeah, they didn't know that Parshendi had them until
they saw Eshonai.
Well, no, they until like the war started and everything. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. I don't really have anything else to say. But he is a dark-eyed man with a shard blade. Mm-hmm. So that's also kind of a little thing. A little thing.
Yeah. Right. We have 4 interludes.
Yes.
Yeah. Interlude 8. Eshonai returns to her people transformed into storm form. She says that the Storm Rider is standing with the humans and that they will use this form to crush them. All the while, a voice inside her screams. Screams.
Her eyes turn red.
I did have that marked.
Yeah.
That the people are concerned about her eyes because apparently something really bad.
Yeah.
Like things with red eyes are bad to these people and whatnot. So
yeah, because they even said like there's a moment where they say "but" in the songs, and then she's cut off. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
she looks down. So I was like, "What happened?"
Oh, there she goes.
Bye, kitty. Okay, part 3. Deadly. Shallan, Kaladin, Adolin, and Navani.
Mm-hmm.
We get a lot of illustrations in this part, and the fourth part, which is so cool.
Yeah, I really like it because like it helps kind of just visualize everything a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Navani is approached by Adolin while soulcasters are being used to form a windbreak. Later on, she is again approached by Adolin while testing out a new raising platform. Adolin confronts her about her relationship with Dalinar, and they further discuss his betrothal.
Yeah, I didn't realize that the illustration at the beginning of this chapter was the platform, because I've had a completely different visualization of what it's looked like in my head this entire time. Mm-hmm. And like now I'm looking, because like when I was reading this beforehand, I just kind of like looked at that and I was like, oh, whatever. And then read the chapter. And now I'm looking at it and we're talking about it and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
How did I not notice that? Anywho.
Really neat. Have you noticed like also the language that is like shown?
Oh, the woman's script?
Yeah. I really like how that looks.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people get like the journey before destination tattooed in the women's script and like that whole thing, which I think is cool. I've seen people do like armbands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I like that it looks like sound waves.
Yeah. Okay. So,
okay, sorry.
yeah, no, it's. I mean, it was partly my distraction as well, being like, I've never noticed.
I like how this chapter starts where it's like Adolin is practicing throwing his sword and everything. And that's like something that he's never really had to do before because it hasn't really, you know.
They've never needed to.
Yeah, they've never needed to throw their sword.
Yeah.
Until now with the assassin in white. But yeah. Very cool. I like that he just got it down like after some few failed tries and everything. But yeah, it's just really cool that we get this little like just Adolin by himself moment.
Yeah. Something I marked at the beginning of this chapter here is when Adolin walks over to where they're working on this fabrial, and the soulcasters are people. The people that are using the soulcasters, they're referred to as the soulcasters. And it says each stood with right hand to breast, displaying a sparkling Is it fabrial or fabrial?
Fabrial.
That's what I thought. But then I started talking and I was like, that sounds wrong. Okay. One of the ardents, each stood with right hand to breast, displaying a sparkling fabrial across the back of the palm. One of the ardents glanced at Adolin. Stormfather, that gaze wasn't completely human, not anymore. Prolonged use of the soulcaster had transformed the eyes so that they sparkled like gemstones themselves. The woman's skin had hardened to something like stone, smooth with fine cracks. It's as if the person was a living statue.
That's really cool. It's a really cool visual.
Yeah, and it's like we think about a whole arc of the first book was Shallan trying to get the soulcaster fixed. And with like what we know, it's like if her father had continued to use the soulcaster to like create the quarries and like do everything that was making them money, like can it be assumed that he would have also ended up like this?
Well, it wasn't him that was using it. It was like the other guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but yes. I think that's
like a prolonged use of the soulcaster like does this to you.
Yeah, it has ramifications.
Yeah, so that means that every ardent that commits to the monastery or whatever that's going to be doing the soul casting knows that their life will end like this.
Yeah, and it's really neat. I like that a lot. I think I like when something has like a check and a balance to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because I mean like the fact that they're changing one element to an like essentially like alchemy, right?
Yeah.
Like in theory, and it's yeah. I've seen Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, have you?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's the law of equivalent exchange.
It's true.
So it's cool that exists in this universe to think because like they're literally changing like essentially like stone into food.
Yeah.
So it's like there has to be a cost for that. Like I don't know. I don't know. It's neat.
It is neat.
And it's also just like it's interesting to think about like I mean presumably this ends in death, right? The way that they've gotten, or at least like
I would assume so, yeah.
To a point where you just can't like you're a vegetable essentially. Non-derogatory. I'm sorry. I don't know. Is that a derogatory term?
I don't know.
I don't mean it that way at all.
But I mean like incapacitated.
Incapacitated. Yeah, that is a better word than what I just used.
It's all good.
My apologies.
Oh, also Navani's wearing some pants.
She's wearing gloves.
She's wearing a glove.
She's wearing a glove and it makes Adolin uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's just so funny to me.
She's like, it's more practical.
Yeah, I actually marked that too.
Yeah.
Because we had that conversation last time.
Why not? It's almost like it makes sense.
It's almost like it makes sense.
Yeah.
Aunt, a glove?
A glove? Oh, more practical.
Yeah.
That's not how Navani sounds.
And he's like, but you're not dark-eyed. And she's like, oh, I'm the queen.
I am the Dowager Queen. I don't exactly know what Dowager means, but I can assume. Yeah,
but she's like, nobody cares what I do. And everyone just will talk about how eccentric I am anyways. Mm-hmm. So, period.
Love her.
Love her. I don't have anything else in this chapter.
I don't really either. I think the platform thing is cool.
I think the platform thing being as cool as well. I am excited to see it come back.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite scenes.
Yes. Hold on. Yes. Okay. Sorry.
You're all good. We're doing chapter 36.
Shallan finally makes it into the war camp with her guard. However, she runs into some trouble when she runs into Kaladin and they have a spat. Finally, she was allowed entry into the meeting hall.
Oh, yeah. This is like...
Yeah.
Do I have notes in this chapter? Let's see.
It is a pretty straightforward chapter. She takes care of like Tin's bodies, and like she gets Tin and her guards, like they cremate them and like they throw the bones in a sack and just like hide them and everything. So, but yeah, this is where she's like, oh, I have to go like see. I have to go meet with Navani and Dalinar and like tell them like what happened and everything. And this is where she runs into Kaladin, and Kaladin's just like, oh my God, what are you doing here? Also, why is Gaz here?
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome.
Which is so funny. I marked here where, let's see. She's talking about, like, she's trying to figure out the person that she needs to be when she walks into the kingdom, right? And she's like, I want Yasna's determination. I want Tin's confidence. And there's a paragraph and it says it all poured from her onto her pencil and onto the page. Streaks and lines that became shadows and patterns that became figures and faces. A quick sketch, hurried, yet one alive. It depicted Shallan as a confident young woman standing before Dalinar Kholin as she imagined him. She put him in shard plate as he and those around him studied Shallan with penetrating consternation. She stood strong, hand raised towards him as she spoke with confidence and power. No trembling here, no fear of confrontation. And then in her mind, she says, this is what I would have been if I had not been raised in a household of fear. So this is what I will be today. And it wasn't a lie. It was a different truth.
I really like that.
I do too.
Yeah, I had that marked down as well. It is. It's just very... I'm getting a phone call.
Oh.
Sorry, Mom.
But yeah, I just thought it's really nice the way that it's kind of described and like how she kind of picks out, well, I want Yasna's determination and I want Tin's confidence. And she also recognizes like this could be who I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
If I hadn't been raised in the house I've been raised in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
it's great.
So good.
What else did you have marked down here?
I have marked the conversation between Shallan and Kaladin.
Oh yeah.
Because it is just so
it's a great back and forth.
Oh my God. All the like, okay, I'm going to say this and I don't want you to think that I support this.
Okay.
But I understand why people ship Shallan and Kaladin.
Yes.
Their back and forth is so good. It's so funny. But to me, I don't know. I'm a Shallan and Adolin truther.
Oh, same here. No, but I totally get it. I don't like that ship, but I totally get why people do and everything. It's the whole like
it's enemies, the banter.
Yeah, it's the enemies to lovers. Like, oh, they didn't like each other at 1st. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's great, you know. But
go read a romance book if that's what you want. No beef here.
But I like how there is like little slices of romance in here.
Oh yeah, same. Yeah. It's a nice break from all the like the world is ending all the time.
For real.
But you know, she comes up into the palace and Kaladin says, my job is to keep people like you away from Dalinar Kholin. And she says, I guarantee he'll want to see me. And he says, well, forgive me for not trusting the word of a horn-eater princess. Would you like some shells to chew on while my men tow you away to the dungeons? And then that's when she loses it.
Yeah, she says, all right, that's enough.
Yeah. And she says, the dungeons sound wonderful. At least there I'd be away from you, idiot man. and then they just the back and forth is so good.
It's great.
So good.
I have marked here before that where Gaz is like trying to sneak away, and then more Bridge 4 like come up the stairs like behind him and everything, and he's like, Gaz, and he's like, what is this? And like he's like talking to him, and Shallan asks like, oh, you know this man? And Kaladin said, he tried to get me killed on multiple occasions. He's one of the most hateful little rats I've ever known. Great. And it's just I think that's a good like wake up to also Shallan, where she realized like, yeah, these men are probably not the best.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean, they were deserters.
Oh, they were deserters for sure. But it's just like, oh, great. And this one just so happens to have history with the guard of like the king
Dalinar,
and Dalinar.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It's great.
It's so good.
Okay.
I don't have anything else for that chapter.
I don't have anything else, and I'm very, very excited to get to this next chapter. During a break in the meeting, Adolin has a conversation with Amaram. Amaram tells him that his position is to be a mediator between his father and Sadeas. Soon thereafter, Adolin spots Shallan and beelines.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. I really like the conversation that he has with Amaram.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of like Adolin's perspective in this whole meeting, not just like with Amaram, but he's like dealing with a lot of the other light eyes of the court and everything. Like this is where he talks to Relis and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of see like, oh, there's like a little click here with Relis and Elit and what's her name? Malali.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like cool to see. And this is where he makes the offer to Elit, where it's like, oh yeah, I'll like for 5 shards, I'll duel you.
Yeah.
And everything. And then Relis like turns him down, and then Elit says, oh, absolutely, let's do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, we're doing it. We're doing it. What's he gonna do? And you kind of it kind of like shows that cockiness that a lot of light eyes have, and that they aren't seeing like the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
Or like not the bigger picture. They're not seeing what he is capable of.
Right.
Which is intentional, which is like, oh, okay, cool. His plan is working.
Right.
Yeah. But going back to Amaram and whatnot, I like that he first off runs into Sadeas and then talks to him. And Amaram is just like, in doing this, hold on. He asked him to like leave.
Mm-hmm.
Sadeas, and Amaram says, in doing that, I would create a divide. So long as I remain with Sadeas, I can help bridge gaps. He trusts me, so does your father. My friendship with both is a step forward, keeping this kingdom together. Sadeas will betray you. No, High Prince Sadeas and I have an understanding. Which we know.
Yeah.
Which we know, like, we cannot trust this guy. But even in reading that and seeing it from Adolin's perspective, it's just like, man, yeah, this guy is like, he comes off as very good and honorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have any notes for this chapter.
You don't have any notes at all?
I do not.
Oh, okay.
I think you covered everything.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't have any notes, so.
But yeah. And then he's like thinking, and he literally says like, who is that? Gorgeous red hair. There wasn't a single lock of black in it. A slender build, so difficult from the curvaceous Alethi. A silken blue dress, simple yet elegant, pale skin. It almost had a shin look to it, matched by a light blue eyes, a slight dusting of freckles under the eyes, giving her an exotic cast.
He said, hubba,
and
hubba.
he's literally just like, oh my God.
That is the most beautiful woman I've eyeballs like bulging out of his head. His tongue like rolls out like a red carpet onto the floor.
Yeah. It's great. All right. So we're going to get into the real juicy stuff now.
Chapter 38, The Silent Storm.
Shallan informs the Kolins of Yasna's death and tells them of her journey and her plans. Her and Adolin flirt, and the meeting gets back started. All the High Princes offer her a place to stay in their camps in an attempt to get some information out of her. However, she chooses the one that hasn't said anything, Sabariel. Dalinar then interrupts and says that the Alethi need to go in full force against the Parshendi. After the meeting, Shallan keeps her word and gets a pardon for all of Vatha's men.
Yes.
Yes.
I marked here, it's on the second page of the chapter, where Shallan, after, she's delivered the news that Yasna's dead, she says, I have information for you, Shallan said, trying to be delicate, about the things Yasna was working on. And Navani goes, more about those Parshmen? Storms, that woman was too fascinated by them, ever since she got it into her head that she was to blame for Gavilar's death. And what was this? That wasn't a side of all of this that Shallan had ever heard. So that's where we find out that Yasna blamed herself.
Oh, okay.
For Gavilar's death. Because, we got her perspective of it, but we find out, right there from Navani that she really does blame herself for it, which is confusing to me, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, Yasna wasn't the one that made she didn't meet the Parshendi in the woods.
Nope.
And decide to want to create an alliance with them. That was never anything to do with her. And I don't know. Maybe she blames herself because she could have helped with. Did she know that she was radiant at that point? And maybe she blames herself for not using her powers to help him or something.
No, because during the the prologue to this book, she goes into Shadesmar and everything, and she's still figuring out her.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think she just blames herself because maybe she feels like she should have saw this coming.
Maybe.
I don't know, but. I mean, that's just a whole thing with guilt. You're just going to feel guilty regardless of even if you could have done something or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah, that is an interesting little tidbit.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you had in this chapter?
I really just kind of had some broad stuff here. I'm trying to see here.
I like the interaction she has where she totally goes out on a limb.
Yeah.
About Sabariel.
That's what I was going to talk about.
Helping her.
Because it's everybody immediately is all about her. And wants to know, they just want her to come stay with them.
Yeah, because they in theory want to know about Yakavad, but really that's not.
They want to know about the betrothal and everything. Yeah. And going out on a limb and going with Sabariel, the one who, according to Yasna's notes, does not do anything political. He could care less. He couldn't care less. And it works out in her favor. I love Sabariel.
I was about to say the same thing. I kind of love him.
Sabariel is probably one of my favorite side characters in this.
Just because he's such a strange guy, by their terms.
Yes.
As to
absolutely.
Where it's he's not married, he has a mistress, and she's where is she from?
She's
I can't think.
Same.
We'll get there in a minute.
Lopen is from Herdazian.
She's Herdazian.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a non-traditional involvement, and then everyone thinks he's so lazy not going to war, but he's been creating an economy.
My man is a venture capitalist.
He's a mogul.
He is. We'll get there. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like how she's like, yes, Uncle Sabarial. And it's just like awesome.
And
so cool.
He's just like, yep,
Yeah, it's a distant relation or another.
Distant relation.
Cool, yeah. Also at the end, Botha is like in shock that she actually like got him a pardon and everything. So
it's pretty cool.
I do like that. All right. So the next chapter we get
39.
Let's see.
I was thinking as I was reading all the Shalon flashbacks in this book, after we had the conversation last time about it being very like gothic.
Yeah.
It's all I could focus on when I was reading her flashbacks.
Right?
Yeah.
It just once you notice it's just like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like I'm reading like Wuthering Heights almost.
I need to read that.
You should.
Yeah.
It's a classic. I mean, quite literally, but like it's like it's very much gothic lit, like to a T.
Okay, so Shalon flashback.
Yes.
During a feast with her family, Shalon's father says that he has found a new bride. They are then interrupted by the High Prince's bastard, who has come seeking information on the death of Shalon's mother. After trying to get the family to turn on their father, he soon leaves. Sorry, I'm being very brief with these.
No, you're fine.
Yeah. So this is where we also meet Elita for not the first time, but like this is where she's like first introduced.
Yes.
Chronologically.
Right.
Yeah. And I really like that because like this is why I kind of also prefer these flashbacks over the Kaladin flashbacks from the first book. It's because we get the information about Shalon.
Yeah.
We get what happens with her dad and where her brothers are at and even who Elita is. And now we're seeing like, oh, okay, so here's how that all came into play and how that all happened.
Right.
Which is, it's just, I don't know. It's just like, ooh, it's like a prequel and everything. Because we know how it ends, but we don't know how we got there.
Right.
Sorry.
You're fine.
Yeah.
No.
Do you have anything marked down for this?
I do have one thing, and this goes back into our Gothic literature thing.
Okay. Yeah.
And anyone that doesn't find this interesting, I'm so sorry. But once Ryan said it, it's all my brain could run with. So in like on the second page, it says several small spear goblets glowed on the tables, but as the room as a whole could have used more light. Neither spears nor hearthlight were enough to drive out the gloom. She thought that her father liked it that way. And it's just like setting up that ambiance of like they live in this dark house and like they have the means to create more light, but her father likes it. It's dark and gloomy and yeah, man.
It's there. And I can't believe it took me this many reads.
Yeah.
To like get it, right?
Well, I don't even think by the point that I had read the first two rereads, I don't think I really had read that much Gothic literature in the first place.
Same, yeah.
Like I took a Gothic literature class in college, but I think it was a semester I ended up dropping out, so I didn't do the whole thing. And like it didn't retain in my brain. Oh, I read Castle of Otranto, but other than that, like
I think I would like to see maybe I'll save that for later. No, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Yeah, no, sorry. That would get into a whole. Yeah.
Fair enough.
At the end. I marked here like where we get the High Prince's bastard. I want to keep calling him. I don't want to keep calling him. He has a name. The guy.
The guy.
He is like has heterochromia.
Yeah.
So one dark and one light eye, and I think that's just really cool to show. Like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what you get. Like I don't think it's like all the time, but it's like sometimes. Yeah,
there's another point in this part or the next one where heterochromia is brought up again.
Yeah.
Talking about somebody's like son. and they make a comment being like he's one of both worlds or something.
Oh yeah, he's a one eye.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Great. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the next part, I think, right?
Yeah.
It's so like Ryan and I are backlogging today, so we read part 2 or 3 and 4, and so I'm trying to be really careful to be like not go over into that quite yet.
We meet a character who has a son who is a one eye.
Yeah.
So that's not,
But it's still interesting that is like, that's like something you wouldn't think about, but it's cool that Brandon thought of it of like, this is a possibility that could happen because obviously there is a huge difference in the hierarchy in this world.
Yeah.
So it's like, what does happen when someone is born with heterochromia? It's very interesting.
Yeah. I had also marked here, Balak glanced over his shoulder toward the high table. I wish I could hear what was being said. Maybe they'll drag him away. That would be fitting for what he's done. And Shalon says, he didn't kill Mother. Oh, then what did happen? And all Shalon says is, I. She didn't know she can think. Not of that time, that day. Her father actually done it. She felt cold again despite the fire's warmth. The silence returned. So
she's just in like such a trauma state with what
constantly
happened.
Yeah.
And so it's like it is very representative of like a real trauma response as to where like you just don't have the memory and it's hard for you to access it. Which I think is interesting.
Yeah. Which does like happen.
Oh yeah. No, I was talking to my mom about something when I was visiting her. And then I was like talking about it. And then I was like, oh, I can't remember how the rest of it goes. I was like, my memories from that point in life were like really foggy to me, or I don't have them at all. Yeah. Because it was like a really traumatic period in my life for me. And she was like, that's really interesting that you just don't remember any of these things that happened.
Oh, yeah. Because your brain, like, that's what it does to like protect itself.
Yeah. I like made a joke to her. I was like, well, obviously, like, she was like, oh, do you remember this, and this? And I was like, well, obviously, I repressed that on purpose because no, I don't have a single memory of that. So it's interesting. And I know that Brandon has done interviews and he's like talked about how when he's been writing mental illness or trauma or things like that, he talks to actual people who have experiences with whatever the case may be. And it's cool because it makes it so realistic, which is like how, I don't know, I feel like that's how you connect to characters in a lot of books. It's like, oh, they're just like me because they have also experienced this, or they also have this disorder or this disability or whatever. And that's what I think that's where I like a lot of, it's a big part of his writing for me is how relatable it is, but it's because he took the time to do the research.
And he said it like at Dragonsteel when we were there.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I couldn't remember.
He says like he has to make a good representation of a lot of these topics, because if he does it, then he's only hurting.
Right.
Yeah.
The people who have the disability or whatever, which is so cool that he recognizes that, because some authors would be like, well, this is what I think this thing is, and I'm just going to run with it. Yeah. So
whack.
Yeah. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
That's what I got.
Thank you, my man. This is also the chapter where we see Shalon be like, oh, you know, we could all like try and be like happier and more optimistic. Yeah. And whatnot. And we'll see like what comes of that later.
Yeah, we definitely see that in a later chapter, or like later flashback with her.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm good for that chapter.
Okay.
Chapter 40. This is where we meet Polona.
Sabariel and Shalon return to his war camp and meet up with Paloma, his mistress. His mistress. She's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep, that's all. That's
what you wrote? Okay.
Yeah, I wrote she's awesome because she is. Because I love Polona. Yes.
Yes. She's so cool.
I think she's really sweet. And you kind of learn everything you need to know about her. in this
Yeah.
short chapter, I'll let you I'll let you go.
Well, one thing that I did mark before I just kind of go off and talk about Polona for a second, I marked on the first page, it says her soldiers were safe and would catch up later. She had a base of operations and an income. In the tension of the meeting and then Navani's withdrawal, the Cullen house hadn't yet demanded that Shallan turn over Yasna's things. She still needed to approach Navani about helping with the research, but so far the day had actually worked out quite well. Now Shallan just needed to save the world.
Yep.
And
it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great.
I think it's really cool that she's like, well, my day went well. I got what I needed, but now I have the whole weight of the world on my shoulders.
Yep.
But yeah, so Polona, we meet and she's like, and this is also where we find out, like, as they're coming into the camp and into Sabarial's camp, which is where she sees the fields and essentially like factories and things like that. She's like, oh my God, you
have industrialized. You've made a little small city here.
She says, you sly eel, while the others fight a war, you've been building an economy.
Yep.
And he said, I had to be careful. I didn't want them to notice what I was doing at first. And she was like, why are you telling me? And then he's like, well, if you're going to be working for me as one of my clerks, you're going to see it anyways.
Yep.
So it's just really cool that, like, the way that Sabarial is described in Yasna's like notes is not
at all. Well, not really what he is like.
Yes,
he's sneaky.
He is sneaky.
He is.
He's smart.
He is. He's that guy.
Yeah.
Have you? Never mind. I'll talk about it later.
Yes. So Polona, yeah, she's Herdazian. I did find that here.
Yeah.
She makes a joke immediately, being like, I honestly can't believe you brought home a random girl because you thought it would annoy one of the other high princes. Talking about Shallan. And so you see immediately she's like, oh, you've brought this other woman home, and is like being all some sort of way, but then she's like totally joking.
Oh yeah.
And then she's also like, yeah, no, it was actually probably a smart move that you brought her in here because now we have first access to all this kind of stuff.
Yep.
And so it's interesting also because Polona is recognized as the mistress and takes that badge with pride. And she's still like the woman of the house, where she knows what's going on, and she like she said, she was like, oh, it's a smart move that you did that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I have marked here, woman, you make me the most henpecked man in all of Alethkar. We aren't in Alethkar. I'm not even storming married. I'm not marrying you, so stop asking. Like,
she's so cool.
It's the back and forth. They're an old married couple.
Yeah,
but they're just not married. That's it. Like, they have this like good camaraderie.
Yeah,
it's obvious they love each other and just know how to get on each other's nerves, and it's great, and I love it.
Yeah,
might be my second favorite couple in the whole Stormlight archives, if we're just being honest.
Honestly, yeah. That's it. You make a fair point there.
And
this is also where Shallan finds out they have running water on the Shattered Plains too, which is cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool little technology thing there.
I have two more things I want to talk about in this chapter. Did you have anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Okay, so it seems like at the very beginning of it, Sabarial says, you've changed. Excuse me. You look younger. In there, I would have guessed you were 20, maybe 25, but now I can see you can't be older than 14. And that's probably, again, Shallan is like using her abilities in just some way to like highlight some stuff about her and everything, which is just a really nice touch. And then at the very end here, there's a great little interaction between Polona and Shallan. Sorry, we didn't have this sort of thing in Yakaved. Welcome to civilization. I trust you left your club and loincloth at the door. Let me set to finding you a maid. The short woman started to leave. Polona? Yes, child. Thank you. Polona smiled. Winds know you're not the first stray he's brought home. Some of us even end up staying.
Yeah.
She left, which that's to indicate that she was probably in a similar situation with Sabariel, and that she's not the only one, because Sabariel is the
he's kind.
He is the rogue with a heart of gold, it seems.
Yeah.
Which is always a character that I will like. I am a sucker for it every single time.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's like you meet a hardened man who seems like he wants absolutely nothing to do.
Who is actually nice.
Yeah, you meet a jerk who seems like he wants nothing to do with anything in the whole world, and then he actually is like one of the most caring people under the tough shell.
Mm-hmm. I've been watching Scrubs. And you'll never guess, I really like Dr. Cox in that show. I really like him. He's like the same thing.
Yeah. I also love Dr. Cox in that show.
All right. Are we ready?
Yeah.
41.
Scars.
Kaladin gets Teft to train some more bridgemen in the chasm. Syl questions Cal about his motives, and later Renarin asks Kaladin if he can join Bridge 4.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That is such like, I remember the first time reading that being like,
yeah.
What?
Huh?
So, and then like his reasoning is really good.
Oh yeah, he makes a great argument.
Yeah. I don't have anything in the first couple pages, but I have some stuff at the end.
I see. There's a lot that we could talk about with like Syl and Kaladin and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we should just like maybe talk about it. And then, because it's coming down to a lot of like, Kaladin is slipping.
Yeah.
And Syl is trying to like get him to think about like what he's doing more.
Yeah.
And he's just not like getting past like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just some more of that.
Yeah.
And that's really all I had to say about that.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, part of their conversation, let's see. He says, I have to know, he whispered. She says, no. He said, you asked me why I protect Dalinar. I have to know if he really is what he seems so. I have to know if one of them lives up to his reputation. That will tell me. And she says, tell you. And she becomes the image of a full-sized young woman standing on the wall before him. And she says, tell you what? He says, if honor is dead. And Syl says, he is, but he lives on in men and in me. And then she says, Dalinar Kholin is a good man.
Yeah.
And Kaladin's like, what? He's friends with Amaram.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, and he says, like, he could be the same inside. And she's like, you don't believe that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just the point that you just made of like, it seems like he's slipping and she's doing everything in her power to be like, think about this.
Yeah.
Like, seriously think about this.
He's just too angry.
Yeah. At Amaram.
Yeah. And it's blinding him.
It is. It's, yeah.
I really like that she showed herself to Sigil.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very fun. And he like freaks out and she's like, oh, it's like a little person.
Yeah. He also says at the end of that same chapter or same page where I said the where Kaladin's like asking if honor is dead.
Mm-hmm.
She's saying that like he can be reformed. Or she like he says, I warned you that I was broken. He says, she says, no, you've been reforged. It can happen to men. And he says to other men, yes. I'm not certain about myself yet, but I will protect Dalinar Kholin with everything I have. I will learn who he is, who he really is, and then maybe we'll give him his Knights Radiant. And then immediately after that, and then she says, what is an Amaram? What of him? And he says, in his head, he hears like pain, Tien. He says, him, I'm going to kill. And she literally says, like, Kaladin, don't let this destroy you.
Yeah.
And I just don't know, like, he's so, like, she literally says, like, men can be reforged.
Yeah.
And he's like, other men can, but like not me.
Not me.
I'm not like the
too
other
broken.
guys.
Yeah.
I'm not like the other guys.
Yeah.
I'm too broken.
I'm too broken. Nobody's had it as worse as me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, dude, yeah, you've had a rough life, but also, come on.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to talk about some stuff from the next part, and I had to stop myself. Whoops.
Whoopsie.
All right.
Let's see. I marked here. I'm trying to figure out what it's always like now that I bought these smaller post-it notes, I've marked specific sentences in a paragraph instead of just like marking the whole paragraph and then having to read.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, what did I mean when I did this now? Oh, let's see. Oh, this is when Renarin comes over.
Yeah.
And Kaladin says he can like see some of them clumped on one side of the fire, some seated, others standing. Their laughter forced, their postures nervous. When you trained men for war, they started to use combat stances whenever they were uncomfortable. Something on the other side of that fire was a threat. And so when he steps through the fire, he finds Renarin. So all of his men are like on guard. They're like obviously very uncomfortable, and then it's just Renarin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he says, I want to be in Bridge 4.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, what are you going to do? Guard yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this is where we find out for the first time what Renarin's like actual like affliction is.
Yeah.
And it's that he has epilepsy.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, because they're like always like, oh, he's having one of his fits. Like he's having a seizure. And then he even explains like sometimes, you know, I don't seize, but sometimes it's just like my hands or like, it's like very small.
Right.
And so I think, I don't know. We just learn we learn the most that I think we have learned about Renarin in this chapter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We do. And like I said, and I'm not going to like get into it, but I think he makes a very like, he makes a good argument for like why he should be in here and everything.
Yeah.
And I fully agree, because I remember reading this for the first time and just be like, Kaladin, just let the boy join in.
Right.
You're all a bunch of weirdos.
Yeah.
Let him be a weirdo with you.
Well, I think he makes that point.
Yeah, he does make a point
to Dalinar.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, so.
Oh, and then Moash has something to say about it.
I cannot comfortably talk about Moash at this point anymore.
Okay. I can.
Yeah, you speak on him, because I have a lot of feelings about Moash.
He just has something to say about it, because Moash and Kaladin had similar feelings to about Light Ice and whatnot. And Kaladin says like basically defending him and saying he's different. And it's our job to keep an eye on him anyway. So yeah.
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 And then is this? Yeah, they ask Kaladin if he wants to go out, but he turns them all down.
Yeah.
And he says to Syl again, she says, why didn't you go? I can't live that life anymore, Syl. I wouldn't know what to do with myself, but Kaladin walked away and got himself a bowl of stew. Kaladin, again, gets really annoying.
Yeah.
With how depressed he is.
Yeah.
And that feels really bad to say.
Yeah.
But that's just how I feel.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people share that sentiment, though.
Yeah.
Like, especially at this point in the series, like, I feel like when you read anything online, like, about this point in the series, everyone's like, oh my God, Kaladin, like, shut up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get it together,
but,
man.
And, like, I guess you need to think of it through the perspective of just, like, what... And I see, maybe I would, just because, like, I'm not afraid of confrontation.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I had somebody who acted like this and I said, so you just want to rot, is that what you want to do? You just want to sit here and rot and you want to feel bad? No, you're coming with us.
Yeah.
Because this will actually help you.
Right.
Like, come on, dude.
And I think, but it...
I need to have a come to Jesus talk with Kaladin.
Yeah. Come to Stormfather talk.
Come to Stormfather.
Yeah. On the other, to play devil's advocate, as to kind of go into what we were talking about earlier, I think it is also very realistic of depression, though.
Oh, it is. It is. It absolutely is. And that's, I think, why I'm not like mad about it. Just annoyed.
Just perturbed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perturbed. That's a good word.
All right. I don't have anything else for this chapter.
Mere vapors.
Chapter 42.
Mere vapors.
Mere vapors.
Shallan discovers Tin's span read, and with the help of Pattern, learn more about the woman and who she was working for. After conversing with the correspondent, Shallan decides that she's going to go meet with the Ghostbloods.
Yeah, I actually have no notes in this chapter at all.
I don't either.
Because it is just kind of straightforward.
Nothing of worth saying.
Yeah.
Okay, chapter 43. I cannot wait to go in and do the YouTube time coding everything.
Yeah.
And it just be a few seconds. That's going to be really funny.
I know literally both of us being like, yeah, no, that's about what happens.
So, chapter 43. Shallan meets the Ghostbloods.
Yeah.
That's all I wrote.
That's hysterical, actually.
But, I mean, she does.
She does. Let's see here. I do have notes on this one. So who are the Ghostbloods, Ryan?
I mean, do you want me to tell you?
I mean, we meet them in this chapter.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought I can tell you a lot about the Ghostbloods if you want.
I'm trying to we're on a podcast.
Yeah. The Ghostbloods seem to be a faction of individuals who have their own motivations on Roshar.
Yeah.
And they are who were helping out Shallan's father. Capsule, the one who tried and killed Yasna and almost killed Shallan, was working for them. They just seem to be some devious fellows.
They seem to have their own agenda of like what they think is the right thing to do. Yeah.
They have their own agenda, and it seems like they're not going to let anybody get in their way.
Yeah.
And I really like the Ghostbloods. And I don't like Mraize, though.
Yeah.
So we do meet Mraize, who seems to be the leader of this group of Ghostbloods.
I will say, I think one of the coolest things that came into my possession from Dragonsteel last year was our friend who made the pins.
Yeah.
The Ghostblood pins. I'm going to put mine on my lanyard. I'm like going to bring all my pins I got last year to put on my lanyard for this year. I'm really excited because I have like my Edge Dancer one that I got, and then I have the Ghostbloods one that Josh, that's his name? No. Patrick.
Patrick. Yeah, his name is Patrick.
Yeah, I don't know why I said Josh. I know Josh is like another one of our friends, but I was like, I could see Patrick's face in my head, and for some reason I said Josh. Patrick, if you're listening, I'm so sorry.
Patrick, if you're listening, hi.
Hi. His name is like Ginger Shard Cosplay on Instagram if any of you want to follow him.
He does a good Kelsier cosplay.
Yeah, he does a great Kelsier.
He looks great.
But yeah, he made pins that have the Ghostblood symbol. We got those last year, and they're so cool.
Yes. Sorry. Okay. Back to book.
Back to the book.
Back
Sorry,
to
everybody.
book.
Feeling chatty today.
No, it's all good. This is a podcast. We're supposed to be chatty.
Right. But we still have so
Nobody
much
told
to
us
get
their
through.
favorite apple, by the way.
It's a messed up world we
live in. What the heck, guys? I wanted to know. Come on, man.
We'll get there eventually.
Oh, dude. Could you imagine, like, nobody told me their favorite apple.
You're like,
why do I do this?
Violently sobbing. Okay. One of the first notes that I have here is when we meet Mraize for the first time. And that's what he says. That's my title. That's what you may call me. And she says, I'm called Vale, which is, she says, using a name she'd been toying with. And that's the first time that we hear Vale. And this is when she first like comes to fruition. This is the first time.
Comes up with this persona.
Yeah, this is this is the first time. Persona. Oh, he said it. Sorry. Yes, this is the first time we meet her persona, Vale.
Yeah.
Someone should make a parody of like they should take Shalon and then make like a Persona style parody. And she goes, Persona, and then it's like Veil behind her. That'd be dope.
It's very funny.
You're like, all right,
well, we'll talk about more Persona afterwards, but because I want to touch on that.
Okay.
But let's get through this.
Okay,
I'm sorry. I want to talk about that.
Sorry, everybody.
No, she's doing a JoJo pose too.
That'd be cool. Okay. We're getting off track.
Okay.
That's the only note I have is just
That's the only note?
Yeah, that's genuinely the only thing I've written down. It's just like,
what are you doing?
Look, I apparently when I was reading this, I didn't see, I don't know, I thought we would talk about it more. And I was like, well, this is the one thing that I really want to talk about.
Yeah.
So.
The right wall had the greater number of trophies, including several enormous gem hearts. Those were together likely worth more than her father's estates. Fortunately, they weren't infused. Blah 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 blah. And that one eye socket that looked frightening close to the structure of a xanthid skull.
Mm-hmm.
Other curiosities baffled her. A vial of pale sand, a couple of thick hairpins, a lock of golden hair, the branch of a tree with writing on it she couldn't read, a silver knife, an odd flower preserved in some kind of solution. There was no plaques to explain these mementos. That chunk of pale pink crystal looked like it might be some kind of gemstone, but why was it so delicate? These are things that are probably greater Cosmere.
These are things. I can assume the sand is from white sand.
I can...
Presumably. I don't know. White sand is one that I've read part of it, but like not really. I never really got into it.
I can tell you, I know solidly the sand, maybe the hairpins, and then the pink crystal.
Yeah. Our other greater Cosmere.
Things. The other ones couldn't tell you nothing about them. I don't know Jack.
I don't know single thing.
Yeah. I don't like Maraise.
Yeah, he's your classic seedy pain in the butt.
Yeah, and like I just don't like him. I don't like him as a character.
Yeah. Oh, I don't really like him either.
Yeah, which is like so, I guess kind of, he's not interesting to me.
I just think we meet cooler Ghostbloods after this.
We do meet cooler Ghost. He's just not interesting. And I think that's actually like a criticism that I have for that, because it's like, here is our like guy, our introduction to the Ghostbloods.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think he's really boring.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that's all I really had to say on that.
All right. Chapter 44.
Yeah.
One Form of Justice.
Yeah. If you guys like Maraise, let me know why you like him. And maybe, I'm just curious because I just think he's a boring character. Kaladin and crew go to Zahel and begin their training. After speaking with Adolin, Shalon shows up and baffles him and says that she's only here to sketch the plate and blades of the kingdom. Kaladin then speaks to Moash and learns about his past and grudge against the king and learns more than he bargained for. He agrees to meet with some people that Moash has been hanging out with, and Syl warns him that this is a bad idea.
Yep.
It's a really bad idea.
Yeah.
Gal.
Yeah. The first thing it's a little far into the chapter, the first thing that I have marked, and it is when Shalon enters the training ring or arena. Not bad, Yake said, following Kaladin's gaze. Not bad at what? Kaladin asked, trying to figure out what the woman was doing. Not bad looking, Captain, Yake said with a laugh. Storms, sometimes it seems like the only thing you think about is who has to be on duty next. And then Kaladin says she's light-eyed. And Yake says, so? A light-eyed lady can't be attractive? And he said, no. It was as simple as that. I'm like, oh my God, Kaladin.
Kaladin, just take the stick out of your butt, dude. Come on. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was one thing that I marked that I thought was just funny and just like, really, man? Like, you can't even just appreciate the beauty of another person because they have light eyes.
Yeah.
You're a pain in my butt. And also the interaction where Adolin walks up and she's like, you know, he finds out like, oh, she's there to sketch, and he goes, oh, well, do you want me to pose for you?
It's I love Adolin so much. Too. He's such a himbo.
I was about to say the same thing.
He
bestie. Is a himbo. Bestie mode.
Oh my God. He's such a himbo and he's great.
But she goes, so he's like, oh, you're going to need me to pose for you? And then she's like, actually, the sketches of your plate are quite complete, thanks to your mother. I'll focus first on the king's plate and the blades, which nobody has thought to sketch in any detail. And then Adolin's like, look, I can see what you're up to. And Shallan says, 5'6". I suspect that's all I'll ever be up to, unfortunately. He's like, 5 foot. And she goes, yes. I thought it was a good height. Then I came here. You Alethi are freakishly tall, aren't you? I guess everyone here is a good 2 inches taller than the Vaden average. And then he's like, no, that's not. You're here because you want to watch me spar. Admit it. Like, the sketching is a ruse. And she goes, someone has a high opinion of himself. Comes from being royalty, I suppose. Like funny hats and a fondness for beheadings. Ah, and it's our captain of the guard. Your books are on your way back to your ranks via courier. Or your boots. Not books. Oopsies. Your boots are on their way back. So she gives the boots back. But just that whole interaction with Adolin, I think, is so funny. That's all.
Yeah.
And he's just, and also, Shallan and I are the same height.
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm 5'6".
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's all.
I'm glad y'all are the same height, I guess. I don't know.
I could do a really accurate Shallan cosplay. Height accurate Shallan cosplay.
Do it then.
We'll see. Yasna's my number 1 right now.
But she's tall, Whitney.
I can wear heels. I can stretch my calf bones out.
Don't do that. People do that. And it's just like, ow.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And it's like a really crazy, like it's really like crazy surgery to recover from.
Yeah.
Anywho.
Yeah. I didn't really have anything else marked, really. We learn what's the deal with Moash and why he hates the king.
That was the next thing I had marked.
He did have something to do with the balcony.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also just like think I understand Moash's like upset with Elhokar, but it's like I don't know. Like I said, I can't talk about Moash.
I understand Moash's. I think it is.
I think it's justified.
Completely justified for why Moash dislikes Elhokar.
Yes, I don't think. I don't know. I guess maybe if I was as vindictive, maybe I would be like, I want him dead. But
yeah, I don't.
It's a hard one.
It's a hard one. I kind of want to talk about it later a bit more when we get some more information.
Yeah, we'll talk about Moash at a later point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just how I feel.
Yeah, I don't have any other notes in that chapter though.
I don't either, except right here. And Amaram, can I kill him? Is that justice? Syl asked. One form, there's a difference. And she's like, Cal's like, storm it. Why couldn't he make that stupid weapon go where it should? Because of what it does to you. Thinking about him changes you, twists you. You're supposed to protect Kaladin, not kill.
Mm-hmm.
And it is that I think we're getting to like, I guess, some like moral questions now.
Right.
Where there's different answers to morality and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like even with Spren, with different types of Spren,
Mm-hmm.
we learn like, oh, they believe in this like form of morality and like
Yeah.
belief and whatnot, which I think is
Absolutely.
very interesting because now we're like seeing how that's how Syl is. Like she
Mhm.
is, yeah, because Kaladin is making an argument that, oh, killing this person will save others in the long
Right.
run and whatnot.
But she's like, killing is wrong.
But killing is wrong. It's like, even if that is the case, who are you to make that decision?
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's just cool.
It is cool.
All right.
Chapter 45, Middlefest.
Shallan flashback.
Shallan flashback.
Shallan and her family are attending Middlefest. Shallan spends her time trying to help her brothers find some Shallan spends her time trying to help her brothers find some happiness in their lives. Later on, Shallan meets with Wit, and he gives her some advice to always find the light in the darkness.
Yes.
Yes.
This is our first time seeing Wit in a flashback, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that we know Wit is around.
He's around.
Has been around.
Did you catch on that this was Wit when you first read it?
Definitely not initially, no.
No, I did not as well. I really like this chapter just because we are seeing Shallan kind of go and actually do what she set out to do, where she's like, we should be more optimistic and everything.
Yeah, and you see her doing the actions of like setting up
Balat and Elita.
Balat and Elita, and then she takes Wakim the math problems,
Mm-hmm.
and then she finds, is it Jushu and the gambling, and or she finds Wakim in the gambling?
No, she finds Balat in the gambling.
Oh yeah, Balat's in the gambling, and that's when she gives him the letter from Elita. But you see her, oh yeah, because Jushu they can't find.
Yeah.
He's like off somewhere. But then, yeah, she like sets out she spent like literal, the way he like looks at the math problems. He was like, I actually think that's what I have marked right here now that I'm thinking about it. Oh, yeah. Because he says like, oh, I don't want to be an Arden, be boxed up and whatever. And then he shuffles through the pages. You copied and translated all of it, even the drawings. Storm Shallan, how long did this take you? And she shrugged. And she's just like, oh, whatever. But it had taken weeks, but she had nothing but time. Days sitting in the garden, evenings sitting in her room, and the occasional visit to the Ardens from some peaceful tutoring about the Almighty. It was good to have a thing to do. And Wakim ends up being kind of rude about it. And he was like, this is stupid. Like, what do you think I'll accomplish? Like, I can't believe you wasted so much time on this.
Yeah.
And Shallan like gets really upset. But then we see later that he does end up doing the problems, and like
it's when she's talking to Wit, right?
Yes.
I had marked here.
Mm-hmm.
It's when Wit shows up and like talks to Shallan, because he was the one that was talking to her dad.
Yes, and that's something I definitely did not pick up on the first time around. I was just like, who is this strange man?
Axe Hound, a voice said from behind her. Shallan jumped, safe hand abreast, and spun. He rested up on a tree limb wearing his black outfit. He moved as she saw him, and the spiky leaves around him retreated in a wave of vanishing red and orange. It was the messenger who had spoken to Father earlier. I have wondered if any of you find the term odd. You know what an axe is, but what is a hound?
Right. Because they don't like traditionally have just like dogs.
They don't have dogs.
Yeah.
So how do they know what a hound is?
Right.
Which is just very funny to me, because it's like, hey, yeah, how do you know? How'd you get hound out of that?
Because he's like, you don't have that here.
Yeah.
I also marked part of their conversation where she says, did Helleran tell you to speak to me? And he says, I'm sorry. He gave me only the brief message for your father, and only because I mentioned that I'd be traveling this direction. And she said, oh, I assumed he'd sent you here. I mean, coming to us was your primary purpose. And he says, turns out that it was. Tell me, young one, do Spren speak to you? And then she kind of has like a moment where the lights, like in her mind, the lights going out, life drained from them, twisted symbols the eyes should not see, her mother's soul in a box. And then she's like, no, why would Spren speak to me? He says, no voices, the man said, leaning forward. Do spears go dark when you're near? And she just is like, I'm sorry, I should be getting back to my father. And then he says, your father is slowly destroying your family.
Mm-hmm.
Your brother was right on that count. He was wrong about everything else. So it's just like, we get more of the flashbacks of her, the trauma, to where she actually, like, you see that she knows she did something wrong. Something bad happened.
Yeah.
And it's also just Wit being like, just being Wit.
Yeah, just being Wit.
Yeah. Do Spren speak to you? Do spears go out when you're around? And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
And usually he's like very
he doesn't
coy
speak he
about
doesn't
it, but
speak
now
that
he's
forward.
like being direct because maybe because she's a child.
Yeah. Maybe.
Probably. Yeah.
Something to think about.
Mm-hmm. I had marked here.
Yeah.
To be human is to seek beauty, Shallan. Do not despair. Do not end the hunt because thorns grow in your way. Tell me what is the most beautiful thing you can imagine. And she goes on and she like gives this example of like if her mom was still alive and her father was like less.
If he was happier.
If he was happier and everything.
If like their whole family was happier, essentially. Like what like her ideal life would be like.
Mm-hmm. And so she actually starts doing this. She starts light weaving.
Yeah.
And creating this scene. And no, she drew back. The misty light faded. I see, the messenger said softly. You do not yet understand the nature of lies. I had that trouble myself long ago. The shards here are very strict. You will have to see the truth, child, before you can expand upon it, just as a man should know the law before he breaks it. I'm very, very pleased.
I'm very pleased. Yeah, I love that whole Shallan flashback.
It honestly was a flashback that I was not very big on.
Mm-hmm.
But now I turn a full 180. I think it rocks.
And I like the setting of it, and I like just little Shallan going around trying to make everyone happier, and just like, and then the conversation with Wit, obviously, and it's just it's all good.
It's great. All right.
Chapter 46, Patriots.
Kaladin is spending his time working instead of eating and relaxing. He is then convinced to go out with our core group of Bridge 4. Later that night, Cal meets with the group Moash was talking about and is not pleased. Afterwards, he tells Moash to stop meeting with them.
Yes.
Yes.
Let me see if I have any notes in this chapter.
I don't have too much.
Too.
Yeah.
Let's see. I have one thing. Oh, it's when Rock is talking about the Lanu'aki.
Speak on that, Wit.
Okay. He is the god of travel and mischief. He's a very powerful god. He came from depths of Peak Ocean, from realm of gods. What did he look like? Lopin asked, eyes wide. Like person, Rock said. Maybe a Lethi, though skin was lighter. Very angular face, handsome perhaps, with white hair. Sigza looked up sharply. White hair? Yes, Rock said. Not gray like old man, but white. Yet he is young man. He spoke with me on shore. Ha! Made mockery of my beard. Asked what year it was by Horneater calendar. Thought my name was funny. Very powerful god. Lopin asked, were you scared? Rock says, no, of course not. Oh my god. Lanu'aki cannot hurt man. It's forbidden by other gods. Everyone knows this. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, Nova's...
She got him. Yep, he's sitting on my foot now.
Aw. It's a joy having a dog and a cat.
Uh-huh.
One of the joys of life.
All right. Yeah, so that was definitely wit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Presumably.
Yeah.
And we also, right before this, get the whole story of like how the Horn Eaters came upon the peaks, which I think is cool, getting a little bit of lore in that regard.
Yeah. I agree. It's great. It's great, like lore and like world building and whatnot. Kind of learning more about like
it's a folktale.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And just kind of like learning like what Rock's whole like deal is more and whatnot.
Yeah.
He's Yep. There you go, bud.
Sorry, my dog is really trying to make himself comfortable on Ryan's foot.
Yeah. He is just right on it.
He's so cute.
Uh-huh.
You can't even be mad.
So, yeah, I think that's really cool. I have something marked down here. Mm-hmm. It's before they go out. It's when Kaladin goes and talks to Shen.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically tells Shen, I spoke to Dalinar earlier today and asked if I could arm you. He asked if I trusted you, and I told him the truth. I do. And he gives Shen a spear, and he says, Bridge 4 doesn't have slaves. I'm sorry for being frightened before. Leighton and Nadam practice in the mornings with a few men. They're willing to help you learn so you don't have to train with the green vines. And Shen like goes on and says, you are a good man.
Yeah.
And their conversation kind of gets cut off by Moash asking if they want to go out and everything. But I really like that moment because we so you end up kind of forgetting about Shen.
Yeah.
A little bit just because he's not like a very active character.
Right. Well, because he hasn't been armed, and so he's just kind of...
Yeah,
but
exactly.
He's free.
He is.
But he's also a parchman, so they're kind of overlooked anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So... Which
is very fitting.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I really like that moment. And I think it should have just been noted. Yeah.
There is something that I didn't mark it in this chapter, but I know that it happens here. Wait. This is where, like, yeah, he actually goes down and... Oh, this is where he meets Graves. And Graves says, like, Kaladin asked something about Amaram, about killing Amaram.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that... Or is it... Who does he ask? He asks about someone, and he says they're already spoken for by somebody else. Because, like, they have the king, and there's someone else... And he says like they're already spoken for. Did I make that up?
Don't know.
I really don't want to try to sit here and like.
Oh, I don't know if you picked up on that. You probably did.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a woman in this group.
Yes.
Named Danlin.
Yes.
Who was courting with Adolin.
Yes.
In the last book.
Yes.
That's just interesting to me because that's just like, oh, okay. So we met this character already and now they're back and also now they want to kill the king. Mm-hmm. And it kind of makes you wonder if that was part of her motivation originally when her and Adolin started courting each other.
Right. I also think I was mistaken. I think it might have been in the Ghost Bloods chapter talking about killing someone and they ask about Elhokar. And Emrys says he's already spoken for by somebody else.
Gotcha.
That was where I was wrong.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody.
Okay.
But yeah, it is interesting that Danlin is here.
Mm-hmm.
And like she was in. So do you think she was dating Adolin just to get closer to the throne if she was already involved in this?
I feel like yes. I that should be probably implied that was like, yeah, she was trying to get close to it, and obviously like it just wasn't going anywhere. Because I mean, that's just what I can assume.
Right. Yeah, I don't have any other notes.
Yeah, I'm looking to see if he because we talked about like Graves having a one eye
Yeah.
and everything.
Because this is the only chapter where we talk to Graves, isn't it?
Yeah.
In this part, at least.
I'm pretty sure that
I don't know.
he is. I'm pretty sure. I think he says it here. If he doesn't, oh well, he says it eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got for that
Yeah, that's
chapter.
all I got either.
Okay.
Or 2.
Chapter 47, Feminine Wiles.
Shallan and Pattern are stumped by looking at multiple maps of Roshar, and Pattern suddenly starts deciphering the Dawn chant.
Yes.
They then go meet with Adolin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's great.
Oh. So let me see. I did have a note here. This is where we first hear about the Oath Gates.
Yes.
Because Shallan is like thinking about Urithiru, and she was like, how do you reach a city if not by roads? Noadon could walk there, so he claimed, but others do not speak of riding or walking to Urithiru. And then she starts digging through Yasna's trunk. She finds a notebook and finds the reference she was searching for. And it says, another folktale, this one recorded in Among the Dark-Eyed by Calanum, page 102. Stories of instantaneous travel and the Oath Gates pervade these tales. Instantaneous travel, Oath Gates. That's what Yasna was coming here for. She thought she could find a passageway here on the plains. So this is where I guess we kind of find out that they have maybe the technology, or just it is a magic system of teleporting, almost instantaneous travel from one place to another,
and it takes you to Urithiru.
Yes.
So,
and you can only be a Radiant to get there. Yeah. That's what I have for that part. Do you have any notes?
I don't really have any notes about that. I think it's cool that Pattern also starts like deciphering the Dawn chant, because now we have 2 different groups who are probably going to be working on that, because Navani and Dalinar have already started that. Right. And now it's Shallan and Pattern.
Right. So pretty cool.
Pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
There's a moment where we kind of find out more about Shallan's abilities in this chapter as well. And Shallan is like sketching and she's working on her light weaving, and she was like, how do I make the illusion vanish? And Pattern says, stop feeding it. And she gathers up all her spears. Several were now done, set them on the seat across from her, out of reach. That wasn't far enough, for as her stormlight ran out, she breathed in, using instinct she hadn't realized she had, light streamed from across the carriage and into her. And she says, I'm quite good at that, considering how short a time I've been doing it. And Pattern says, short time, but we first. And then it says she stopped listening until he was done. That was not the section I was thinking that it was, so pardon for what I said before that. But yeah, it's just interesting that Pattern literally went into like, oh, well, no, we've been doing it since you were a child. And she just literally just, no, I don't hear anything that you're saying.
Yeah.
So
we'll learn more about that later.
Oh, we do still learn about her abilities though at the end of this chapter. Is when she's sitting in the carriage, she draws a drawing and then is able to like make it appear, and it's like sitting like a statue, and she's like, you know, what am I trying to say? It looks like a statue, and she's like, oh, but it's not like realistic. And Pattern's like, oh, but it's still impressive. And she's like, I didn't say it wasn't impressive, but like this isn't going to fool people. They'll be able to tell that this isn't real.
Yeah, because it's just sitting there like a statue.
Yeah, which gets expanded on later, so that's cool.
Yeah. Okay, chapter 48.
No more weakness. Another Shallan flashback.
Yes. Shallan and brothers are having a good time in the garden. Balat gives her some blackbane and says he doesn't need it anymore. Suddenly, the peace is interrupted and creditors come to take Jushu away or have his debt paid. Shallan gets the knives that her father gifted her brothers and convinces the men that Jushu is a good man and gives him back to her.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't have any notes in that chapter.
I have no notes for this chapter either. It's pretty straightforward. I like sort of the what happens at the end where Balat says he is not going to help Jushu. He got like himself into this situation. But Shallan takes their knives and gives it to the men, and like the men, like the guy, he says like, oh, you actually care about him. Like he's done all these terrible things. He's made your family look bad.
Right.
You still care about him. And he feels bad for Shallan and basically like takes less than what he is owed. And when they get back, Shallan says that Balat is the one that saved him.
Right. She like doesn't want the credit.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that would probably create more issues if, you know, Jushu found out that Balat did not
care.
Yeah, did not care.
Yeah.
Which I think is just smart on Shallan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's always been clever.
Always been clever.
All right. Chapter 49, Watching the World Transform.
Shallan and Adolin go on a date to a wine house. She's trying to convince him to go out on a hunt so that she can properly see the plains. A high storm is on the way, and the two make it into safety with seconds to spare.
I think this, like, the restaurant, lounge, bar, whatever you want to call it, that they're at is so interesting.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, that they just, like, and I know it's for, like, rich light eyes, but the way that they choose to spend their time is like, why don't we sip wine and watch a storm that literally is more powerful than anything else on our entire planet ravage the plains? Like, let's just watch it roll in. And then we have to run into a bunker.
It's a very rich thing to do.
Yeah, it's just like, what, man? But it's an interesting setting. Oh,
for sure. I really like it. I like at the end when they get into the bunker and Shallan is like 6 seconds. And he's like, what?
He was like, we could have stayed out there for longer.
6 more seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is just like, Shallan, you're a crazy person.
He's like, are you nuts? One of my favorite conversations happens in this chapter.
The poop.
Yes.
Go on.
He paused and he's waiting for her to ask what happened next as he's telling this story of like a chasm fiend hunt. And she just goes, well, what if you need to poop? And he goes, well, I put my back to the chasm and laid about me with my sword intending to, wait, what did you just say? Poop, Shallan said. You're out there on the battlefield, encased in metal like a crab in its shell. What do you do if nature calls? And he's like, oh, this is something no woman has ever asked me before. And she says, yay for originality. And she's like, oh my God, like Yasna would be so mad at me. But case in point, this is something you never think about with fantasy novels, like logistics of like, what do you have to do if you are in a fight?
Yeah.
And it just happens. And Adolin literally goes, yeah.
You just do it.
You just do it. And then like somebody has to clean his shard plate after he poops himself.
Yeah.
And she literally, like he literally says to her, yes, I, Adolin Colin, cousin to the king, heir to the Colin princedom, have shat myself in my shard plate 3 times, all on purpose. You are a very strange woman.
That's what got him. That's what got him. Shallan, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. You ain't got to be rich. You don't have to be attractive. As long as you're funny,
Oh, yeah.
dude,
All you need.
that's all you need. And Shalon's funny and smart
She's smart, funny, and beautiful.
and beautiful.
She's the complete package.
It's true. And mentally damaged.
The whole package.
The whole package. All right. Are you ready to move on? I didn't have anything else, really.
I don't think I have anything else either. Oh, I lied.
Whoa.
What did I mark here? Oh, I just had it marked about the world before the storm happens. She heard grinding across stone and the parchment and began pulling away the tables and chairs, stowing them to protect them and make a path for the Light Eyes to retreat to safety. And it says, the horizon had bled from light to dark like a man flushing with anger. Shalon gripped the railing, watching the entire world transform. Vines withdrew, rock buds closed, grass hid in its holes. They knew. Somehow they all knew. And it's just interesting that like how intense these storms are.
Yeah.
I don't know. And just like it's the world building for me.
They like launch boulders and everything.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I got. All right.
Chapter 50.
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems. Yeah. Shout out Adam Sandler. Adolin talks to Sadius and it goes about how you expected. Later, Dalinar realized that his knife is what made the glyphs on the wall.
That's hysterical.
What? It is.
It goes about how you expect it.
Yeah.
Let's see. I marked here. This Sadius renounces his position of High Prince of Information. And Sadius says, I fear I was never a good match for the position. It's my temperament, perhaps. I wish Dalinar good fortune in finding a replacement, though from what I've heard, the other high princes have come to an agreement that none of us are suited to these kinds of appointments. He renounces the king's authority, Adolin thought. Storms, this was bad. And then Adolin thinks about killing Sadius, but doesn't. Mm-hmm. But it's just more Sadius just being a twat.
Yeah. Being a little rat.
Being a little rat.
Yeah. And because they talk about this before, right? Like he renounced his position to basically say like, oh, the king's authority is like whatever. I don't care. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's just like for him to do something like that, he's just really doing it to get under their skin at this point, and it's working. It's working.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else for that chapter though.
Yeah, you learn that like, oh, Dalinar's knife is what carved these new numbers into it. And they're just like, oh, how could this happen? And then Navani is like, often the simplest answer is the right one. And so they're just like, oh yeah, he must have done it. He must be the one that's doing it and everything. Yeah. Yeah. Chapter 51.
Heirs.
Adolin goes to meet with Eshonai in Dalinar's place. Something has changed with the woman, and she says that there will no longer be a peace agreement. Dalinar says that they need to focus more on getting Adolin more duels.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely safe to say that her transformation has changed something in her.
Absolutely. And it's made her, I don't know, because like before when we would meet Eshonai and like when she talked to Dalinar originally, she seemed open to a treaty. Like, it was more like, let's talk, let's have a conversation.
No, she wanted it to end.
Yeah. And then now she's come back to Adolin, presumably Dalinar, and is like, no, we're going to fight you and you're going to lose, by the way. And that's about how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything really about that. It's just a very, like, again, straightforward chapter. And I find it like, oh, okay, we're finally getting to where we're seeing Eshonai's transformation has changed her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
I don't
right.
have any notes besides that.
52.
Into the sky.
Okay, so a lot happens in this chapter, and it's constantly going back and forth. So here's my summary.
Okay, I'm ready.
Kaladin learns how to fly, and Shallan breaks into Amaram's manor. Boom.
You're right.
I'm right.
That's everything.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you like to speak on first?
So I have marked, and I think this is the only thing I have marked in this chapter. Let me make sure. Oh no, I lied. I have 2 things. But it's Kaladin's flying.
Kaladin learns how to fly.
He's learned to do the same thing that Zeth is doing.
Yep.
So where he's lashing himself in different directions and all this other stuff. We get to see more of Shallan's light weaving, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
The fact that she's been able, because like we've only really seen her as Vale, and that's it. So now we see her as this like messenger boy, and then she had also been like staking out Amaram's like place to find the maid who ends up sneaking out. And so she transforms into the maid, and it's crazy how she just like draws it and then boom, that's how it works for her. So it's cool to see that. What I marked here is when she leaves, she, gets the memories of the maps. She's like, all right, I'm good to go.
Okay.
And then she runs into Amaram outside as the messenger boy. And he's like, yeah, brightness Shallan, or well, Shallan as a messenger boy is like, oh yeah, like Shallan Devar wants to do updated drawings of like the shard plate and the blades. Yeah. And he summons the blade, and it was Halloran's.
Yeah.
So we know that Kaladin killed Halloran.
But Shallan does not know that.
No. So it's like, as a reader, this is a moment for me where I was like, oh my God.
The drama.
Yeah, because it was just like obviously now she's upset because she's like, Amaram killed my brother, because that's what she assumes. Like that's how she got his blade. So now she knows Halloran's dead. Yep. Because she knew he was gone. Yep. But she didn't know he was dead. Yes. And so now she knows he's dead. Presumably Amaram killed him, who is supposed to be one of the most honorable men in all of Alfcar. And he has her brother's blade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So also Amaram is a storm warden.
Yes. Yes.
And they are creating their own language and like writing and whatnot.
Yeah, they're like using glyphs to create a whole written language, which is like what they're not traditionally used for. Yeah. It's like men like educating themselves when they're not supposed to, almost. Yeah. Like they're allowed to be educated and they get things like read to them and stuff. But the fact that they're, because like men aren't supposed to write, like every time someone sees like a man writing, everyone's like uncomfortable. So the fact that like Amaram's doing that's it's very interesting.
It is. And it's cool because like how they're writing the language, it's like they're using glyphs that like are sounds and whatnot. And that's like how other languages like are done, right? Because like it's a glyph language.
I mean, that's how things have to kind of be. I don't know anything about like hieroglyphs, and I'm assuming, I could be wrong here,
that's like Chinese characters.
That's
correct?
What I was going to say. Or like kanji. Kanji's kind of the same way, where it's like sound based.
The symbols have meanings.
Yeah. 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 So in that degree, so I could be wrong. If I'm totally wrong, just, sorry.
Please inform us if we are correct about Chinese characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up?
No. You go ahead.
Okay.
You got anything else?
It's at the end of the chapter.
Oh, I got something at the very beginning of the chapter.
Oh, then you go ahead.
Okay. It's when Shallan is, walking up to Amaram's manor. She gets stopped by 2 guards. And we're going to start keeping a secure perimeter. Yes, Sergeant. Oh, stop harassing the lad, Have, the other soldier said. You know who Have is?
It seemed familiar when I read it, but I wasn't sure.
Hav is the one who trained Kaladin.
Oh, in the army?
In Amaram's army.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I knew when I read it, I was like, that name's familiar, but like my brain didn't make the connect.
I just find it, did not notice it until this reread where I'm like, Hav. Oh, Hav. Yeah. He's the one who trained Kaladin and kind of told him like how, because Kaladin is going on and using what he learned from Hav to train Bridge 4.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I never made that connection.
It's very cool.
Well, the thing that I have is at the end, Shen tells Kaladin he's leaving.
Yes.
And he says, I can't tell you. And Kaladin says, you're a free man. I won't keep you here if you feel you must go. But I don't know that there is another place where you can go and you'll be able to make good on your freedom. And Kaladin says, you're leaving tonight. And he says, immediately. And there's like a whole thing where he says, the guards at the edge of the plains might stop you. And Shen says, Parshmen do not flee captivity. They will only see a slave doing some assigned task. I will leave your spear beside the fire. And then he says, you're a good man, Captain. I have learned much. My name is not Shen. It is Verlaine. And Kaladin says, may the winds treat you well, Verlaine. And Verlaine says, the winds are not what I fear. And he pats Kaladin's shoulder, takes a deep breath as if anticipating something difficult, and stepped from the chamber.
Verlaine. Anyways, that's cool.
Do you have anything else in that chapter?
No, a lot happens. We learn like Kaladin and Syl get in a conversation saying like they're talking about shard blades and everything. And Syl's like, you cannot use one of those. They're like, they're abominations or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, but there's got to be a way because I can't beat this guy. I can't beat Zeth without a shard blade.
Right. Like there's no way.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some like cool stuff like that, but that's all I had really marked. Yep.
Then let's move on to chapter 53. Perfection.
Alien. Oh. let's do that one more time.
Alien.
Adolin precisely defeats Elet. Soon he offers all his family shards against Ruthar and anyone he decides to bring, but he refuses. However, Relis accepts the deal.
I don't have any notes in this chapter because everything that happens you just explained.
Yeah.
Which is fine. This is just kind of a short chapter and it is very straightforward. And yeah, I remember reading this and being like, when he's like, you can like bring whoever you want. And I remember reading it and being like, I don't think you should say it like that. I think you need to be a little bit more specific, Adolin. And then, yeah.
See, when I first read it, I will say I got caught off guard because I was just like, hey, bring any two. I was like, who's he going to bring?
Yeah.
And then there's 4 of them. We can say there's 4 of them.
Yeah.
So that one got me.
Yeah.
All right. 54.
Vale's lesson. Sorry, I was looking at the drawing of her clothing here.
Yeah, her walk cycle.
Who's this little guy? The little bug. You think that's like a Kremling right there? Ryan and I trying to decipher.
I don't know who this is.
It's just a funny little drawing.
Oh, wait. A proper Vorin.
What?
A Lady's Pace by Brightness Axeface.
Oh.
I'm assuming this is supposed to be like one of Shalon's old tutors.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's Shalon writing something under
using like, this is what I was taught, and I'm going to draw her as an axe hound.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is for sure.
Anywho.
Yeah.
So chapter 54, what do you have for us?
Shalon brings her sketches to Maraise and gets some praise from him. After the meeting, she uses her powers to spy on his company and avoids being killed.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. I do have something marked kind of early on here. Oh, it's where Maraise says, I see. Pin chose a scholar to be her apprentice this time around. I find that unusual because Shalon accidentally kind of lets out how smart she is.
Mm-hmm.
And Shalon blushed. It occurred to her that this person she became when she put on the hat and dark hair was not an imitation of someone else, not a different person. It was just a version of Shalon herself.
Yeah.
So it's cool that like she recognizes that Vale is not just a completely different person. It is still Shalon.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a part of her because she is still the scholar deep down.
Mm-hmm. And Shalon also, in this moment, she like showed some like being not willingness to share everything because she didn't write like the actual words that were on the maps and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Even
Yeah.
though she can like remember them.
Yeah.
Which I think is very funny.
I think she's holding it back on purpose because she also like recognizes that if she was able to come up with the maps exactly the same as they were in Amaram's house, it would look really suspicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, very cool. This is also where Maraise says, you killed her, didn't you?
Yeah.
And Shalon is just like, and like he's like, ha. She finally picked an assistant who was too capable, delightful. After all her arrogant posturing, she was brought down by someone she thought to make into a sycophant. It's just very funny.
Yeah.
Because I guess Tin was kind of a loser, huh?
Apparently so.
I mean, compared to like the Ghost Bloods.
Yeah. Something a cool piece that I had marked here was when he brings over one of the like guards or just like one of the other Ghost Bloods and has Shalon look at him and she takes a memory and then he walks back and she like basically makes like a perfect portrait of the way that he looked, like even with the background and everything.
Yeah.
And so then when she's walking away, she left the pavilion and found that the rain had stopped. She walked away, feeling eyes on her back. They all know that I can identify them with exactness, she realized, and can present accurate pictures of them for anyone who requests. So it's just kind of it's true. You know, these people are criminals.
Yeah.
And Shalon literally could produce an exact image of them. And so now they don't like her.
Nope.
Because they're like, she could sell us out.
Yeah. So later on when she's hiding in the boulder, she overhears Maraise say, we will need to find how much he knows. You will bring these papers to Master Thydakar. We are close. But so, it appears, are Rastari's cronies.
Those are all people we haven't met yet, are we? Have we?
No.
Yeah. You said those names and I was like, I know those.
We know who they are.
But I don't think...
If I want to be so for real with you,
yeah,
I do not remember who Rastari's is.
but I know the name.
I definitely know who Thydakar is.
Yeah.
I don't remember who Rastari's is at all.
I'll remember when we get there.
Yeah. Maybe.
But yeah, I don't have any other notes for that chapter.
Right. Yeah. The rules of the game.
Chapter 55.
Chapter 55. Shalon and Adolin go on another date to a menagerie. They're escorted by Kaladin and driven by Wit. Shalon tells them that Adolin should ask for a boon from Elhokar after his duel. After some time at the menagerie, Dalinar shows up with Amaram and tells the crowd that he's refounding the Knights Radiant with Amaram as its leader.
Wow. Sorry, I don't know why I made that.
I like it when you. It's funny. It's a good Whitneyism.
Wow. So I marked here when Wit first pulls up in the carriage. Kaladin's like getting ready to swing up into the seat, and then he goes, "You."
Me.
Yeah. And then Kaladin's like, "What are you doing here?" And Wit says, "Trying to find mischief." And then there's a whole thing with the flute, whatever. And then we get a little bit further in, and the same interaction happens again with Adolin, where he goes, "You," and Wit goes, "Me." Ever at your service, Bright Lord Kalin. And he said, "What did you do with my usual carriage driver?" And then a page later, we get the third time, and Shallan goes, "You," and Wit says, "Yes, yes, people certainly are good at identifying me today. Perhaps I need to wear." And then Wit was cut off as Shallan lunged at him. Kaladin dropped to the ground, reaching for his side knife, then hesitated as Shallan grabbed Wit in an embrace, her head against his chest, her eyes squeezed shut. And then she says, "I always wanted to thank you. I never had a chance."
I'm not gonna lie. What that part got me a little bit when I read it. Has that ever happened to you? Like somebody you have met gives you life-changing advice.
Yeah.
You never see them again, and you don't think you ever will see them again, and then they just show up.
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
It has not happened to me, but I couldn't imagine that.
Yeah. I feel like I've definitely had moments with people where they've said something that's like resonated very deeply inside me, but I don't think I've had
strangers have said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had strangers say something like absolutely crazy to me before that like it's always just like exactly what you need to hear.
Oh yeah.
And then like I remember I had this when I was working at the plant nursery. I had this interaction with a lady, and I remember her leaving. She came in just to buy honey. Like we sold local honey at the nursery, and she literally came in just for the honey. And I remember talking with her, and we talked for like 20 minutes. And I remember her saying some things to me. And when she left, I literally remember my head being like, "I think I just met an angel." Like,
that's awesome.
It was such just like a weird thing, but she said so many like not life altering, but like just I guess like headspace altering things to me in like the 20 minutes I spoke to this woman.
Yeah.
It was so crazy. And I've never seen her again. I worked at that nursery for such a long time after that, and I never saw her again.
That's awesome.
And it was just so funny because she came in only to buy the honey. Yeah. Like there's so many other places around us where she could have bought local honey, but she came to the plant nursery.
I love that.
It's always one that I don't know.
That's great.
It's yeah. So if I ever see her again, I'd probably have the same reaction.
Be like, "Hey, look, you don't know who I am, but we met this one time, and you kind of said some stuff that helped me out. So thanks."
But yeah, I can only imagine how Shallan feels in that moment.
There was a song about that.
What?
There was a song about that.
There is?
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Oh, jeez. Anywho,
no, I'm sorry.
And this is also where
he's back on my foot.
This is also where they're talking. Shallan mentions the what is it? The rite of challenge.
Yeah.
This is where that is first talked about, where Shallan's like, "This is what you should do. You should win this crazy fight. You know, you already set it up that you're gonna fight one person, like two shard bearers at the same time. So if you can win this fight, and it is so incredible that the king gives you a boon, you can ask for a rite of challenge to challenge Sadeas to a duel right then and there."
And we learn about this because this is like what that's how, because Sadeas did this in the past with Gavilar. And if I'm not mistaken, earlier in this book, when Dalinar is threatening that one high prince, and he says like, "Oh, how do you plan to keep us all in line and everything. And Dalinar responds with, doesn't he say, like, why don't you ask Yennev?
I don't know.
I think it was. And Yennev is the one that Sadeas challenged and killed.
I could definitely see that.
I'm pretty sure that's how it goes.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
That's kind of a crazy thing to be like, why don't you ask the guy who's dead? Like,
yeah. Because he does do that.
Yeah.
But I think it was Yennev.
Yennev.
And it might not have been Yennev, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. What notes do you have for this chapter?
I really don't have much. You kind of hit everything on the head, except for maybe like at the end.
Yeah, I have the very end of the chapter marked.
Why don't you speak on that then?
Well, the menagerie owner asks, is it true the rumors around camp are most intriguing? And Dalinar sighs audibly and he says, we were going to announce this at the feast tonight, but Amaram insists on wearing the cloak. I suppose it needs to be stated. Under the king's direction, I've commanded the refounding of the Knights Radiant. Let it be spoken of in the camps. The ancient oaths are spoken again, and Bright Lord Amaram was at my request the first to speak them. The Knights Radiant have been reestablished, and he stands at their head.
Awesome.
I can imagine
So cool.
Kaladin in that moment being like,
oh, yeah.
Oh, no!
Oh, yeah. It's so just like, oh, like, oh, no.
Just like,
oh, no.
Oh, no. That's when Kaladin was like, I gotta kill him.
I gotta get this guy.
I gotta kill him.
I gotta get this guy.
I gotta get him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you ready for this next chapter?
Oh, dude.
I really don't have much to say about this next chapter, to be honest.
Dude. Oh, God.
Uh-huh.
Is this... Yeah, this is the last chapter, isn't it? Oh, no, there's two more.
3 more.
Three
chapters.
more. Oh, my God.
It's 56, 57, 58.
God. Yeah,
okay.
let's talk about
All
it.
right.
Sorry. I was just looking and I'm excited. Because one of my favorite lines is in this chapter, I think.
Well, it's Adolin's duel, and he didn't say his words correctly, because now he has to fight 4 shard bearers. Renarin jumps in to help, but it's ineffective. Then Kaladin says he's going.
Kaladin says he's going.
That's it.
So yeah. He tries to yield. Oh my God. No, it's not in this chapter. Oh my God.
I'll talk about some real quick.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about it.
I like how we're kind of immediately like told that, oh, this fight is not going to go how we think it is.
Yeah, because Sadeas says, this is actually what I have marked.
Oh.
Is it the Sadeas replied right here? 787?
No, I have some of that on 785.
Oh, okay. Speak on it.
It's Renarin asking, now you ate chicken. 2 plates of the stuff with curry.
Yes.
Mother's chain, Adolin felt in his pocket. Then he felt in his other one.
It wasn't there.
I must have sworn. I could have sworn I slipped it in. And so that his mother's chain.
Yeah.
He does this ritual every single time.
Right.
And it's not there.
Right.
So that I think is an indication like, oh, okay, something is going to happen.
Yeah, it was already going to go wrong from the start.
What did you have to say about Sadeas?
It says it was just kind of when they see all the shard bearers come out onto the field, and you know, Dalinar says it was supposed to be a paired disadvantage duel, 2 against 1, as per dueling conventions.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Sadeas replied, that is not what young Adolin agreed to. Why? I have it on very good authority that he told Prince Relis, I will fight you and whomever you bring. I don't hear a specification of a number in there, which subjects Adolin to a full disadvantage duel, not a paired duel. Relis may bring as many as he wishes. I know several scribes who recorded Adolin's precise words, and I hear the High Judge asked him specifically if he understood what he was doing, and he said that he did. Yep.
Yep. There it is.
And yeah, the end of this chapter is one of my favorite lines ever.
Yeah. I also like where we jump into Adolin's perspective.
Where he's just
And he's just like,
the...
I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
I'm a storm cursed idiot. And it's just immediately like, oh my God. Oh my God. And everybody else around him is literally talking about just like, oh my God, he got played and everything. And
yeah.
Adolin's just like, I'm just stupid.
And I do like also kind of in that same moment, he hears Zal behind him.
Yes.
And he's
Isn't
like,
that so cool?
It is. I don't know if I ever really I don't know, saw the weight of it, I guess, when reading this prior, but we hear Zal behind him, and I don't have the exact paragraph pulled up, but he says, you got this. You know how to fight this. You are not cornered. Because that's all he can think of in his head. He's like, I'm cornered. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But Zaha literally goes like, you're not cornered. You can do this. You know how to fight this one at a time. You are not
one at
cornered.
a time. Yeah. It's right here on 789.
789. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah. And he just keeps hearing Zahel's voice like over the whole crowd.
Yeah. So. Which is cool.
Which is very, I love Zahel.
I do too. One of my Cosmere goats for sure. So
that's something we should talk about maybe at the end during our Yap sesh.
I think we'll talk. Oh, some of our Cosmere goats.
Yeah, and like our Yap sesh.
Yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
So Dalinar goes up at the very end of this chapter. Goes up to Brightness Istio, who is the what do you call it?
The High Judge.
Yes, the High Judge. Thank you. And Dalinar is like, you need to stop this. This is crazy. And then like Dalinar is like, I'm going to go down and I'm going to end it. Like, this is crazy. And then he's like, I can't do that. I'm not my shard plate. I'm getting old. This would be a death sentence for me. And I can't die right now. I'm supposed to be doing all these important things. And then he looks at Amaram, and Amaram literally looks away, and he is like booming. He's like, what happened to us? Where is our honor? And then he hears, honor is dead, from behind him. And Dalinar turns around and looks at Kaladin. He hadn't noticed the bridgeman walking down the steps behind him. He took a deep breath and looked at Dalinar. But I'll see what I can do. If this goes poorly, take care of my men. Honor is dead, but I'll see what I can do.
Dude, it's too damn tough.
It's too tough.
It's too tough, Wit.
Oh my God.
And now we're back, baby.
We are so back.
So back.
God. That's like literally one of the best scenes. And then as soon as I finished part 3 and then like went to bed, and I was like scrolling on Instagram reels, and I got a meme about that.
Yeah.
Like 30 minutes after I read it. I was like, the timing is crazy.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. Yeah.
So Renarin is helping in the fight as well.
Right. We didn't even bring that up.
I felt really, really bad. Where it's just like, I remember Rose from the watching crowd whispers like scratches on paper. Dalinar spun to see what someone else had joined the battle, stepping from the preparation room. Shard blade held nervously in 2 hands, but wearing no plate. Renarin. Oh no. It was like, oh no.
Oh no.
Like, I felt bad, but it's like, dude, yeah. What is Renarin going to do in this situation?
Yeah.
All right. So chapter 57. To kill the wind. Kaladin and Adolin win. Then Kaladin gets thrown in jail.
Yeah. God, I can't tell you the anger and just how pissed off I was at Kaladin at the end of this chapter. One of the coolest things I think happened, one of the coolest fighting moves Kaladin does ever in the entire series is in this scene.
What is it?
When he lashes himself to the guy's storm plate, or to the shard plate.
Okay.
Sorry. He lashes himself so hard. Like, he uses all of his stormlight and just like kicks him so hard it breaks his shard plate.
He breaks his shard plate, and then he breaks his leg. Yeah.
That is, I don't know. To me, that's one of the cool, like, he literally is like, they're going towards Adolin. I have to help. And he's like, that's the only thing he can think to do, because he knows he's at a disadvantage because he doesn't have shard plate. He's just a guy, like, just a guy.
Just a guy.
And So literally he literally is like, I'm just gonna kick this guy as hard as I can. And it's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
I like how nobody asked any questions about that either, huh?
No. They were just like, dang, he's got some strong legs.
Dang, that guy is strong. I think that's the one thing that gets me is like Kaladin is doing things in this fight that nobody asks questions about.
Yeah.
Mind you, because it gets overshadowed by what happens at the end.
Right.
But
nobody ever thinks to be
Dalinar does not ask him, how did you kick and break a man's shard plate?
Yeah.
He doesn't think to ask him that. I don't know.
But I just we get a lot of really cool mechanics with Kaladin in this entire series, like the way the lashing works and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that is just one of the coolest things. Like to be like, I'm screwed. The top of my spear is cut off.
Yep.
I don't even know. And then he just kicks him as hard as he can.
Yep.
And it helps him win the fight.
Yeah.
And he breaks his leg.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Syl flies off at one point, and she's like, wait, what is that? And
she sees pattern.
Yeah, she sees pattern. Is what we go and find out later.
Yeah.
We don't find that out until
I think
the next part.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And also Relis swings a shard blade at Kaladin and he catches it in his hand.
He does the final clap or whatever.
Yeah, that Zahel was like, that's never going to help you. I'm not going to teach you.
He watched Dalinar do it at the end of the last part of part 2.
Yeah.
It's great.
So he catches the blade and he hears screaming. Why could he hear screaming?
Why did he hear screaming? Why did Relis also hear the screaming and say, I did not kill you, I didn't do it, and literally runs off, terrified, like hysterical?
Yes.
Why did that happen, huh? Hey, Syl calls these things monstrosities.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Dude.
And then...
All right. Go ahead.
At the end of that whole thing...
Yeah.
Kaladin walks up to the guy in the green plate, who is Yakimov, I think, was the green plate. I don't remember.
Somebody.
Yeah, but he's just referred to as green plate here. And he's the last one that hasn't yielded. And Kaladin goes, are you going to yield, or do I get to kill my second shard bearer?
He's too tough, Wit. He's too cool.
Oh, and it is Yakimov. It says it's right down here. But yeah, no, it's so cool. He's so cool. Kaladin's so cool. He's so cool.
He's so cool.
And then he pisses me off the next page.
Yeah. Why does he piss you off, though?
Okay. The whole plan.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
The plan is for Adolin to be able to give the right of challenge to Sadeas. Mm-hmm. And Kaladin completely screws that up out of his own selfishness to want to kill Amaram.
Yeah.
Like, they know that they need to kill Sadeas for the good of the kingdom. Amaram is supposedly good in a lot of these people's eyes.
Yeah.
And so for Kaladin, who is like the lowest ranked person in this entire arena, to be like, I want to fight this Light Eyes who is a high prince.
Yeah.
It's just insane. And of course it overshadows the whole thing with Sadeas.
Yeah.
He screws the whole thing up.
Yeah.
He pissed me off.
I get that.
Anyways.
Okay. I really like how this chapter ends where Elhokar is just like, arrest him. Yeah. Perfect. Kaladin grinned until he noticed the soldiers were coming for him and not Amaram.
Yeah, man.
All right.
I don't know what he expected. Anyways.
Let's get to this last chapter.
Okay. Chapter 58.
Dalinar is defending Kaladin from Elhokar. Elhokar says that he is to be imprisoned until he says he's not anymore. Sadeas tells Eli to find anything that can hurt Dalinar.
Yeah. I don't have any notes in this chapter.
I don't either. I like that there's let me see. Let me make sure. Maybe it's not in this chapter actually.
Elhokar does want to execute Kaladin initially.
Yeah, he does.
And
yeah.
Dalinar is like, but this is your favorite. Like, he's a man of honor.
This is like your favorite dude.
Yeah.
And yeah, he just made you really mad.
Yeah.
But also, like, come on.
Yeah, just put him in jail for a couple days until you cool down, man.
It is just Elhokar having a hissy fit.
Yeah.
It is. Okay. Soldiers arrived for Kaladin a short time later, men that Kaladin didn't know. They were as respectful as they unchained him from the chair, although they left the chains binding his hands and feet. One gave him a lifted fist, a sign of respect. Stay strong, the fist said. I like that part because I think it is like a combined, like these are men on Kaladin's level.
Yes.
And they understand the type of guy that he is, that in his mind, he didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And that they agree that he shouldn't be suffering this right now. Mm-hmm. Which I like a lot.
I agree.
I just thought that was a really good moment that was in there.
I agree.
Okay.
That's all I got.
That's all I got.
For part 3.
What do we think of part 3, Whit?
Part 3 is so cool.
Part 3 is so cool.
But Kaladin makes me angry.
He makes me so mad.
He does. He pisses me off.
He's... I mean, yeah, this is... If you were to ask me who's the most annoying character in Stormlight Archive,
I would say Kaladin.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. You said to me last time, or maybe it was on a phone call, you said part 3 will make Words of Radiance your favorite book.
And you don't agree?
I don't agree.
But will part 4?
No. This is still not my favorite Stormlight book.
No!
It maybe has gone up the ranking. I don't know.
Okay.
I will re-rank them.
Okay.
Once I read
all of them.
All of them.
Okay, that's
because
fair.
Right now, I still love this book, and so much happens, and there's so much cool stuff that happens. But Oathbringer just really does it for me.
I'm not saying it's like absolutely better than Oathbringer. I told you, depending on the time of day.
Yeah.
I'll go back and forth for that.
Yeah. I'm so excited to read Oathbringer. I know we have to do part 5 and the novella before we get to Oathbringer. Yeah. But I love Oathbringer.
All right. But do you have any final thoughts about part 3?
I don't like Kaladin right now. That's my final thought.
No. Kaladin's in a rough spot for me as well. I really like Shallan right now, though.
Oh yeah, I love Shallan and Adolin right now. I'm eating it up. Every interaction they have.
It's so good. Oh, it's so good. We didn't touch on it because I feel like it's more maybe in the next part, but I feel like it was a little bit in this part. Devani doesn't really like Shallan right now.
Yeah, because she's a reminder of the fact she doesn't have Yavsna anymore.
Yeah. And I think that's more touched on in the next part.
Right.
But we'll get there.
We will get there. We will get there soon because Ryan and I are going to record that right after we record this.
Right after this.
Can you imagine talking for 6 hours straight?
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
We do it pretty often.
Yeah.
Well,
if this is where you are leaving us off for today, thanks for being here. And feel free to drop a like, follow, a rating, all that good kind of stuff. Really helps us out. Everyone's been really awesome about that so far, and we're super appreciative. So thank you.
You guys are really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. And by listening, you're a listener on the Listenercast. Bye.
Bye. Yap time.
Yeah. Okay. I said I was going to talk about something.
Cosmere goats.
No, it was before that.
Uh-oh. It's a good thing that we spend 2 hours talking about books and go, yeah, we'll talk about that later. And then don't write it down.
Oh, it was about I was going to talk about Moash stuff, but I feel like I will wait until after we were talking about like do we feel like Moash is justified? And I feel like I will save that until when we talk after part 4.
Okay.
I feel like what I want to talk about will be more involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After part 4.
Okay. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Cosmere Goats.
Zahel's one of mine.
Zahel's one of yours?
Yeah. And
You already know mine.
do I?
You with Yes, you do.
I mean, I'm sure I do, but I can't. Is it someone in the Stormlight archives, or is it Miss Mistborn?
He's talked about it in the Stormlight archive. He's a Mistborn. We're just going to say names.
Okay. Okay. Who are your
Okay.
kids?
I think that's going to be our rule.
Yeah, we can only say names.
We're only going to say names. I don't think we should maybe even say
The book
series. I don't know. Nah, that's fine. That's fine.
Well, I will say. So I'm just gonna say Zahel. I'm not gonna say.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Kelsier.
Fair.
He's a Cosmere goat. I don't care what you say. Sazed.
Yeah.
Who's also from Mistborn.
Sazed is the goat.
Sazed is probably...
He's the coolest.
He is probably...
He's the best Cosmere character.
Ooh. I wasn't expecting you to say that.
He's... so... My partner Jack has he was reading Mistborn a while ago, but he doesn't really read a lot. And recently he's come to the conclusion that he spends too much time on his phone.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's been making an effort to get back into reading. And so he's picked up Mistborn again. And so I've been talking about Mistborn with him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And he isn't really like, when I asked him, because he started reading it, but he was like, there's other stuff I want to read. And I was like, yeah, I really think, at least for him, I was like, I think you really only need to read the first trilogy. For him, I think that's all he needs to read. Because I was like, if you want to read more Sanderson, read Stormlight, but I think you only need the first trilogy. Like, I think you will enjoy the first trilogy more than you would like the second part.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Oh, you think so?
Yes. Yes.
See,
You think it's the opposite?
So are you saying he should read the first trilogy and then go into Stormlight?
No, because he's probably not going to read Sanderson for a while once he finishes the first trilogy. Because when I was talking to him about it, he was like, he likes more classic stuff. Like, as far as like what he actually enjoys reading,
mm-hmm.
like he loves like the Count of Monte Cristo, and he wants to read some oh god,
what?
Dostoevsky.
Oh,
the Russian guy. Like that's the kind of reading that he likes and like wants to be doing.
Gotcha.
But he picked up Mistborn kind of as like an entryway back into
mm-hmm.
I haven't read in several years and whatever. So, I think because I was like, if you're reading Mistborn, you only need to read the first trilogy. Like, if you're gonna only read that much Sanderson.
Oh yeah, that's totally fair.
I was like, don't read all 7 books. Just read the first 3.
I thought you were saying that he wouldn't like Era 2.
He would, but
I think he would like Era 2 just because like I know he likes cowboys.
Yeah.
I do know.
And Era 2 is cool, but like the first book of Era 2 is
it's the weakest.
Yeah. So I think he would have a hard time because that was the hardest thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I finished that trilogy, when I finished Hero of Ages, and then I had to read, what is the first one?
The Alloy of Law.
Alloy of Law. I don't know. It's on my other shelf in my bedroom. Yeah. But that was the hardest transition in a series I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
And like it wasn't just the time skip. The time skip is not the problem there. It is just that book.
Yeah.
But my point was we've been talking about it because he's been reading Mistborn. So every time he like goes for a reading session, I'll be like, oh, what point are you at? What point are you at? Because I'm like, you're reading Mistborn. And so we've been talking a lot, and it just got me thinking about how much I like the first trilogy. And then you said Sazed, and I was like, that's one of my favorite Cosmere characters like ever.
He has my favorite like character arc out of any.
He's so cool.
Probably,
Any character anywhere?
No, like any character in Mistborn for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paladin is one of my goats.
Yeah.
I know that's a lot to say. Yasna.
Yes.
Yasna is also one of my goats.
Mm-hmm.
I think all the main characters in Stormlight are my goats. Like, there's not really a single
I'm trying to think like
main character that I'm like, it was weak.
Yeah.
I feel like at the point we're at now, obviously we don't have book 5 yet, but with where we are now, every single main character we have, I just am obsessed with.
Yeah.
And then Zahel, and Sazed. And then I can't remember his name, but the guy that we talked about with the eyes. Yeah.
I know his name.
Yeah, but I don't want to. I think that one's a little spoilery, so
yeah,
I'll leave that one. I do really like. Oh, I can't think of his name.
From
the Warbreaker.
Oh, Lightsong?
Yes.
Yeah, I see. He's up there for me as well. I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Lightsong.
And the guy from Elantris too.
Oh, I don't remember his name.
I don't remember. His name
I haven't finished Elantris actually. So.
And you know what? Sigil. With not in a way of me like kind of loving his character, but with the newest installment of Sigil lore that we have.
Okay, yeah.
He's kind of a goat.
Yes. The more I learn about Sigil, the more I enjoy him.
Yeah.
We're missing one.
Are we?
Yeah.
What book?
All of them.
Every book ever?
Hoyd.
Oh, well, that's an unspoken, he's the goat, of course.
He is like the goat of the Cosmere.
Of the Cosmere, yeah.
He's in every book.
He is.
It's crazy.
Yeah. He's in every Cosmere novel.
Yeah.
He's so cool.
He is. He's neat. I like him.
One of my favorite installments of Hoyd is in Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. That's one of my favorite.
I need to finish that too.
That's what
I bounced off of that hard.
I remember reading it and being like, Ryan's not going to like this one as much.
Well, you were right, but
yeah.
I was just because when I told you, I bounced off of that, and you've told me that before. Why?
I don't know.
Why did you think that?
I don't know. It just it was the writing for me. I don't think it was anything about the book or the content. Okay. I just thought the writing style would throw you. Like, not the writing style, but just the way it was written. I was like, Ryan's not going to like this.
No, Ryan's not going to like this because he's an idiot.
No, it's not like that. I just didn't think you would like the prose as much.
I'll get back to it eventually. I feel like I need to actually like read it because I was trying to listen to it.
I think it was. Well, that's not true. I think it is one of the weaker Cosmere novels.
Okay.
It's still good. I still really enjoyed it. And I like a lot of the world building in that book. Like, the world building is probably my favorite aspect of that book.
Yeah.
But it is one of the weaker novels, I think.
Yeah.
It's still good. I don't want people to think I don't like Yumi. Or that, like, I'm beefing with Sanderson because of this book or something.
Yeah.
I thought Tress was a really strong one. I think it's a really good starter Cosmere book. And then I thought The Sunlit Man was also really awesome.
I think Tress is easily the best of the Secret Project books.
I agree. Yeah.
But like, I think Sunlit Man for me, Sunlit Man, you just cannot read without.
You need to have read Stormlight.
Yeah. And that's the only issue with it.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say. That's not the only issue with it. That's like the major issue with it.
Yes.
But The Sunlit Man is also a Western.
Yes.
And I really, really enjoy Westerns.
Yes.
I really love.
It's like Western sci-fi.
It is. I like that genre of the man with no name. I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the reason why I love the Mad Max movies, which I still haven't seen Furiosa, but I need to. I hear it's really good.
Yeah.
Max is more of just like a vessel for plot to happens. And in every movie, he comes, he finds people that need help, except for the first movie. The first movie is like not a Mad Max movie, which is very, yeah.
I don't know anything about these movies, so
you should watch all of them. They're so good.
Jack was watching one a couple months ago, and I walked in here, and it was something with like a guitar on top of a truck, and
that's Fury Road.
Okay, yeah, that's all I remember about it. I was like, "What are you watching?" And he was like, "Mad Max," and I was like, "Okay," and then I went into my room.
Yeah. There's like the original trilogy, and they're from like the 80s, and they're really campy and goofy, except for the first movie, which is a really like a lot of like very raw, a lot of guerrilla filmmaking and everything. Was made with a shoestring of a budget. It was like Mel Gibson's second movie he ever made.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think George Miller's first movie. And it's really cool because it rides. It's not a dystopian movie. It's on that like very, very short time between something bad has happened, but society has not fallen yet. But we're right there, and society is about to fall. And it's just a great story. Yeah. And I love the filmmaking aspect of that movie because it's weird and it's like so like amateurish.
Yeah.
And so it's one of my favorite movies for that reason. So anyway, after that, that's where we get like the whole Western thing where, okay, it's apocalypse, baby. Max finds different people. He helps them out, and then he just leaves. Yeah. He wanders on. Yeah. He creates like...
That's essentially what Sunlit Man is.
Yeah, it's a Western.
Yeah.
Same thing with like this whole Man with No Name. Like, that's exactly what happens. Like, he just wanders into town. Trying to think. Because that's like that's kind of like have you ever seen Yojimbo?
I don't even know what that is.
It's a Kurosawa thing. So Kurosawa movies and like samurai movies and like media in general typically are just also Westerns.
Oh, Jack and I watched one, Jack was watching it, and then I sat down and watched it with him. It's about a girl who like has crazy powers. Like she trained under someone and then got these crazy powers, and she's a samurai, and she's like, I don't know. It was like an 80s one or 90s one. Jack will tell you. I don't know what it was. And I'll stop talking now. No. I can't remember. It's like a classic one, but I don't know anything about samurai movies in the first place. So
samurai movies were heavily inspired by Western movies. They follow a lot of the same like plot beats and storylines and whatnot. Kurosawa, here I'll tell you.
Okay, film major.
Kurosawa was inspired by Westerns. He goes on to make Seven Samurai, considered one of the greatest movies of all time. Okay, a few years later, we get The Magnificent Seven. The Magnificent Seven is just Seven Samurai, but with cowboys.
Okay.
So it's literally just everything is taking inspiration and cannibalizing each other, and you make good movies from that, and it's really cool. And that's why I like Westerns so much, because they're in like every culture, and it's really neat and cool, and I like them. And that's why I like The Sunlit Man. Anyway, Whitney, please talk.
Do you have any other Cosmere goats that you want to
Cosmere goats.
I feel like we've said every main character.
Yeah.
But it's so hard when he writes such good characters, you know? I don't know.
Caravangian. He's a Cosmere goat. You cannot. Him. That's okay if you hate him.
But he is a goat, yeah.
That's okay. That's fine if you hate him.
There's a lot of people I hate in these next couple books.
We'll
talk about it off pod because we haven't gotten there yet. And then when we get to it, I'm going to be like, I hate this person. Zeus, what is he doing to you? Zeus is like, it's 5:30. I know what time it is.
Well,
I didn't do my book haul, Ryan.
Oh yeah, do your book haul real quick.
I was talking to Ryan on the phone the other day, and I was telling him that I went into a bookstore and okay, case in point, I had this regular when I worked at Guitar Center, and he would come in and we would talk about books all the time, and that's how I read a lot of Albert Camus' work, was because this guy had told me to buy these books and I was reading them. He was like an older gentleman, super nice. His name's Billy. I hope he's thriving. He's such a sweet weirdo. But I was talking to Ryan about how Billy had recommended me Crime and Punishment.
Okay.
And this was like 4 years ago, and I wasn't reading very actively.
Mm-hmm.
And he was recommending these books to me, and I remember buying Crime and Punishment, and then I had a really hard time reading it and understanding it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was at the bookstore the other day, and I was there on a mission for a nonfiction book. And I got there, and I was just, I can't just go into a bookstore and buy a book. Like, I have to walk around and look at every display.
Yeah.
And I saw Crime and Punishment on a table. And so I picked it up, and I was just like, you know what? Let me, because I see so many people, at least the side of like Book Talk and Bookstagram that I am on, a lot of people recommend his writing.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I think that I need to try to read this again.
Mm-hmm.
And so I picked it up. And since I've been reading very actively the last 3 years, I was like, oh my God, I can finally understand this book. And that may sound crazy. And you might be like, Whitney, are you stupid? The thing is, I was. But reading is just like anything else. And the brain is a muscle, so you have to exercise it. And when you don't, you lose it. And so I was an English major that was obsessed with Shakespeare and could read Shakespeare no problem. And then I became a 20-year-old who could not read Crime and Punishment. So, case in point, I bought a bunch of classics to read that I never thought I would be able to read before. Not a bunch of classics. Well, 2 of them are not. Well, I don't know. Whatever you consider classics. Anyways, I bought Jane Eyre.
Okay.
This is one that comes up on a lot of Gothic lit lists. I wanted to go from the bottom. Pride and Prejudice, because I read this in my lit class in high school and have not read it since.
Gotcha.
And I remember reading it in my lit class in high school and being like, I don't get it. What is she talking about?
Oh, I love that book.
I mean, like, I liked it when we would talk about it in class and we would like summarize it, but I never actually absorbed what she was saying. So, Wuthering Heights, same kind of thing. I read this in a Gothic lit class. Or was it? I don't remember. I read it in some class, didn't understand it, liked the book in theory because we would, do the cliff notes or whatever. But also classic Gothic
My favorite
lit.
orange cat is in that book.
Is in Wuthering Heights.
Yeah. Heathcliff.
Crime and Punishment.
Mm-hmm.
This is another. So this was what spiraled.
Yeah.
This is what started it all. And then I bought Notes from the Underground, also by, I don't even know how to say it, Dostoevsky. I'm trying my best.
Yeah.
But this one I actually picked up when Jack lived at the house with the band, may they rest in peace. Not because they're dead, but because their band is Soup Kink. Someone had this on like one of the stands, like a side table in the living room. And one night Jack and I were hanging out, and I can't remember why, but I just like picked this up and started reading it. And I remember really liking it, but then I just like never purchased it for myself. So when I bought Crime and Punishment, I was like, I'm buying Notes from the Underground too. Yeah. And now I'm kind of determined to read everything this man has written, because there's this girl that I follow on Instagram and she swears by everything he's read, like written ever. Yeah.
Cool.
So I'm in my classics era, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, I always do the fun little novels in between when I read books like this. So we'll see what's going on, but that's where I'm at right now. That's my book haul.
Nice.
$40.
$40.
Well, because the Penguin Classics, they're like $6 a piece.
Oh.
Isn't that fun? And nice and accessible. Books are cheap. Yay.
Yeah.
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 That's what I got. That's my book haul. Are you done? Do you
No,
have
I'm
anything-
not done.
Oh,
No.
I have more things. I watched. So Jack went and saw Alien Romulus with his dad.
Oh, okay.
So it was when I was in Florida, and I was like, "Oh, I kind of want to see that." And he was like, "I'll go see it again." And then we were talking about Alien. And I was like, "I don't think I've ever actually even seen Alien." So we watched Alien the other night.
And it's awesome,
It's
right?
so good. I wanted more Xenomorph on screen, though.
No, that's what makes it scary because you don't see Xenomorph.
Yeah, I did really like the scene where he like popped out of the guy's chest
Oh, yeah.
and like ran across the table and looked
Mhm.
really funny. That made me giggle.
Oh, yeah. Do you like the wet chain room?
The wet chain room.
Uh-huh.
Huh?
It's kind of like a meme from that movie. There's just like a room in what is their ship called?
Oh, it's like Nostra something.
Oh, the Nostradamus or
it's
something.
not Nostradamus,
not
but
Nostradamus.
it's like Nostra something. It starts like
Yeah.
N-O-S-T.
The Nostromo.
Nostromo, yes.
Yes. There's just a room that's really wet, and there's
Ooh.
chains hanging around.
I don't remember
And
that.
there's a it's when she's looking for the cat.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm talking about now?
Yes.
Okay. And everybody's just like, hey, what's with that one room? Why is there just a dark, wet room with a bunch of chains?
Uh-huh.
And it's just very funny. But it also looks really cool.
Yeah. No, it was awesome. It was the day that I got back from Florida. I got back, my flight got delayed. So I got back like an
Mhm.
hour later in the afternoon than I was supposed to. And we got back, it was like 4:00, and Jack was like, he literally was like, well, what were we going to watch originally? Oh, we were going to watch Everything Everywhere All at Once. Or
Uh-huh.
did I say that backwards?
No, you got it.
Okay. We were going to watch that because it was on Netflix and we knew it was about to be taken off, but we missed it by one day.
That's okay.
Yeah. But
Have you seen that movie?
No, that's why we wanted to watch it. So we were going to watch that. And then Jack came out here and he was like, oh, it's not on there. And then I saw that Netflix had Pearl on it. And I've never seen
Yeah,
that.
that's a good movie.
I've never seen that. And then Jack was like, oh, that's a trilogy. And I was like, what? Because I didn't know it was part of a series. So then Jack was like, I don't really want to watch that. And I was like, okay. And he was like, what about Alien? And I was
Yeah.
like, okay. So we ordered takeout Chinese and watched Alien, and it was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
I do not like Everything Everywhere.
Really?
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people really like it, but like
Mhm.
we didn't get to watch it, so I don't have my own opinion yet.
Yeah. Pearl, I think, is really good.
Yeah, I want to watch that, but Jack was saying I really should watch them in order. But I heard the new one people didn't like as much. I heard people didn't like Maxine.
I didn't like Maxine.
Yeah, that seemed to be the consensus with like most people I saw posting reviews
It's
on
a
their
classic
Instagram.
trilogy problem.
Yeah,
The first one's good. The second one's the best. The third one's sucks.
dang.
This is how a trilogy works, it seems.
Have you watched Fear Street?
No.
Oh my god,
Is it the same thing?
I can't remember. I do remember.
Jack has talked to me about Fear Street and says that I would like them.
You would love them, I think.
Yeah.
It's like they're really good
Yeah.
because they all kind of pay homage to a certain area in horror, like
Yeah.
a certain era, not
Yeah.
area. I really liked all those movies. I really liked all of them. That was like one day I sat down and just like binged them.
Mhm.
They're good. They're good.
I should watch them.
You should. The one, I think it's like 1666. There's one that takes place like in the 70s or 80s, and then I think like a modern one.
Okay.
But the one that takes place in 1666, I think that was because it all ties back to like, you know, the history of it. And that's why, whatever. I can't remember what order they go in. Rats. I just remember them all being pretty good.
Me and Brittany just watched a movie
What movie?
Friday. I rewatched this movie.
Friday?
Yeah.
That movie's hysterical.
No. We watched the movie Friday. On Friday.
Oh, on Friday. I was like, that movie's so funny. Yeah.
No. I had seen it before. She had never seen it, but she's read the book in high school.
What movie book?
Carrie.
Harry. I've seen that movie actually. That surprisingly I have seen that.
You've seen that movie?
Yeah. Forever ago.
Awesome.
That was like, I remember when I was like kind of first getting into horror, I was like, I gotta watch some of the classics, and I chose Carrie as one of them.
So I watched the movie for the first time this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like...
You read the book.
Yeah, and then I immediately read the book.
Yeah.
And I said, this is awesome. It's crazy
Stephen King?
That's Stephen King's first novel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crazy.
I need to read Stephen King. I've not read any Stephen King.
I'll let you borrow my copy of Carrie. It's really short.
Okay. I'd be down for that.
It's a cool story because he... I'm pretty sure this is how it goes. He wrote a short story called Carrie, and then somebody told him like, oh, you should develop this into like a full novel. Mm-hmm. And he was struggling with it. He didn't know how to write like a teenage girl, obviously, because he's a 20, 30 something year old man at the time.
Yeah.
And he threw his manuscript into the trash, and his wife sees it in the trash, takes it out, puts it in front of him and says, I'm going to help you write this book. Yeah.
So my aunts are really into his wife's writing. I was talking to them last time I was over there, and because there was a book I gave them by someone with the last name King, and they went, oh, is that his daughter? And I was like, I don't know. Lily King? Yeah, it was Writers and Lovers by Lily King. And I was like, I have no idea. But then they were like, have you read anything by Stephen King's wife? I was like, I haven't even read anything by Stephen King.
Yeah.
And then they were like, yeah, she had like a really short career as far as writing goes, but like all of her books were great.
Yeah.
That's what they said. I don't know if they actually, that's the truth, but could be. I don't know.
Who knows?
I want to read that big one that Stephen King wrote. That's no.
The Stand.
No. Well, that one I do want to read, and then the one that's it's the numbers. It's about the assassination.
11, 26, something.
63 or whatever.
63, yeah.
Yeah, I want to read that. Because like there's this one guy that I trust this man's recommendations. There's like very few people on the internet that I trust what books they recommend, because I've just been recommended so many books that I've just been like, this is bad.
Yeah.
Or not bad, but like it's not for me. And everything that he's recommended that I've read, I've liked. So I trust him, and we dislike the same things. And Lexi Newly Nova said that she was like, I tend to find that I like more things when the same person dislikes the same things as me. So he recommends that Stephen King book like crazy, the one about the assassination attempt. He's like, he says like it's one of his all-time favorite books, and I've seen several people say that.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
I need to read it, but I'm scared to read a book that big right now.
I don't think it's like that big.
Oh my God. It's like, I mean, it's probably about the size of a Stormlight book if we're being honest, but
I doubt that.
Probably 800 pages, 900
Maybe,
pages.
something like that.
Yeah. Anything that's not a Stormlight book, I'm just like, big book, scary.
Yeah.
But then there's like, I think Devils by the same guy is like also massive. So
I really want to read Pet Sematary because I've only read Carrie. And I picked up The Shining, and like I'm going to finish The Shining eventually. I got too much stuff going on right now, like with reading Stormlight and doing other things.
Oh yeah,
in my life. But
it's hard to be reading these books and something else at the same time.
Yeah,
it is like wildly difficult.
Yes,
especially with like the speed that we're going at. So it's a miracle I'm reading any other books at the same time. But
yeah, you're a crazy person. I don't know how you're doing it.
That's because I can't just have this.
Yeah.
If this was just what I was reading, I'd go crazy.
Yeah.
Like I told you, I have to have the fun little things in between. And right now, the book I'm reading is like, it's fun, but it is like one like you kind of have to sit down and think about. But it's still nice to have the separation of fantasy and something else. I could not be reading another fantasy thing alongside this.
Oh, absolutely not.
I really wanted to read
I'd make myself sick.
Yeah, I really wanted to read Jade City by
Fonda
Lee before Dragonsteel. But I think what I'm going to do is buy the book there and have her sign it, and then I'll read it. Because that's what I ended up doing with the Dan Wells books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and read Jade City before I get to Dragonsteel and everything. Because we're about to start doing some backlogging.
Yes.
And that will help.
Yeah.
With reading other things.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm excited. I was looking at Jack Mistborn books and I was like, oh my God, these are so small comparatively. And Jack's like, that book is like 600 pages. And I was like, You don't understand
That-
what I've been going through.
Stormlight book is like 2 of those.
Yeah, I was like, Jack, I just read 600 pages in 4 days alone.
Yeah.
That's that whole book.
Yeah.
That was half of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like looking at Mistborn. I was like, God, it's going to be so nice when we do Mistborn.
Oh, yeah.
Because if we split those into parts or like however we decide to split those up, it's going to be so much
We'll
easier.
still do it into parts, I think.
Yeah. Much shorter episodes, which will probably also be nicer.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
For our personal schedules and for other hobbies and readings and all that good stuff.
I'm on season 5 of Scrubs.
Nice.
The show rules.
It's true.
Hilarious.
It's very true. I'm glad that you like it so much. That's like one of my favorites as well.
Right.
But yeah, Ryan and I have to record another episode after this.
Yep.
So I think we're gonna wrap up the yapping a little quickly today.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Bye.
Okay, well, I'd like thank you for sticking around this long. I have to feed my dog dinner before he keels over and dies. Not really, but he's being very dramatic right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for sticking around. Please like and share with a friend. Give it a rating.
Hey, buddy.
He is not allowed on the couch.
Nope. Down.
It's not my couch, and Jack made that rule, so I follow that. Anywho, all that good stuff. Like, rating, share with a friend, share on your Instagram story. I don't know. If you know anyone that likes Stormlight Archives and they're trying to do a reread, or maybe they're want to do a reread before Dragonsteel, but just don't have the capacity, because I understand it's
Maybe they're bored.
Yeah, I don't know. Send this podcast to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will see you guys next time for part 4 of Words of Radiance.
I never told you about the Waterhead baby still.
Yeah. We'll do that
Bye.
on break. Bye-bye.